You're watching Capital One Bowl Mania.
Welcome to the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl here as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Here from the Magic City, a great look at downtown Birmingham as Coastal Carolina making their third straight bowl appearance, taking on the Pirates out of East Carolina here from Protective Stadium. And we are ready to go as we say hello and welcome you inside the booth with the former Howard University and NFL quarterback Jay Walker. I'm Tiffany Green. Jalen Johnson down on the field. She'll join us momentarily. Well, there's so much to play for, especially at this point of the season. For these two teams, there is still a lot on the line for them.
Absolutely. That's why this is one of the interesting matchups we're going to see. Every team in the country wants to end the season with a winning game on the field. But outside of that, talk about these two programs. Coastal Carolina trying to get 10 wins in a season, 3 consecutive years. That's great. And Mike Houston really has East Carolina trending in the right direction. They are really close to playing in a more major bowl game, but we'll see how they do coming in this game as the favorites.
When you think about Coastal Carolina and just how chaotic the last 3 weeks have been for them, you think about, yes, they took care of business winning the Sun Belt East Division, making it to the conference championship game. We mentioned already 3 straight bowl appearances for the Chanticleers, and then the day after that conference championship game, their head coach Jamie Chadwell taking the job at Liberty, and then the longtime assistant last at NC State, Tim Beck, taking over as the head coach named on December 4th. And so what his primary order of business is to keep the 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, Grayson McCall, with Coastal Carolina. He entered the transfer portal last Monday.
And, you know, he'll do his best job, and the reason being Grayson McCall is a special signal caller, the Sun Belt Player of the Year. And this is a unique experience for Grayson McCall. He has to block out the noise. We know what he's capable of doing as a football player, but this game in particular, it's an audition. There are a lot of schools in the portal looking for him, trying to see where he will land. He's auditioning for other schools, but let's not lose the fact that he may stay at Coastal Carolina.
Premier quarterback play on hand as the prolific passer out of ECU, Holton Ahlers, is the signal caller for the Pirates.
Man, Ahlers is an NFL prospect quarterback. The big lefty can throw the ball all over the football field. You see the numbers. Nobody's thrown the ball better at East Carolina University than Holton Arms. No disrespect to Jeff Blake, my guy, but Holton Ahlers is a guy that can throw the ball all over the place. He's auditioning tonight for NFL scouts as well.
When talking with coaches on both sides, the excitement is high and the time is drawing near for kick. Come back with us on the other side here from the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. Welcome back to Protective Stadium as the coin toss taking part on the field. Well, now Coastal Carolina, we mentioned, has had a bit of chaos, if you will, very eventful set of weeks for the Chanticleers. For more on that, we'll send it down to Jalen Johnson.
Thanks, Tiff. Yeah, chaos is probably the perfect word to use to describe what these guys have gone through. Grayson McCall, their QB1, going into the transfer portal, but deciding to play in this game. It's one of those things that he told me was one of the hardest things that he's had to do in his career. He said he brought the guys all together to make sure that they were okay with him still playing in this game after his name was in the portal. Also, center Willie Lampkin, who's already decided that he's going to go play his next year of football at UNC. He said he wanted to make sure that he finished out this year with his team, so they will be on the field to take this last battle with their teammates.
Well, thanks so much, Jalen. As you see there, the interim head coach, Chad Staggs, and all he has had to balance since Jamie Chadwell moved on to Liberty and the new head coach, Tim Beck. But he has been the one who's held everything together. And on the other side, Mike Houston in his 4th season leading this Pirate program. Boy, what a job that he has done in helping to rebuild and restore that program in Greenville, North Carolina.
I mean, that's what Mike Houston does. And he must have something he likes about the color purple, because he came from James Madison with their purple and gold, goes to ECU purple and gold. So outside of the colors, he keeps on winning. You know, won the national championship for the FCS level, back-to-back bowl games, and trying to get a bowl victory here tonight versus a very talented, questionable, what did Jalen say, chaotic Coastal Carolina club.
Well, ECU wins the toss. They are set to receive it, and Liam Gray kicks it away, and we get things going here from Birmingham. Marlon Gunn on the return out of the end zone and nearing just about the 20-yard line for that 19-yard pickup. Well, Holton Ahlers, we told you in the open, this is a special talent, and the lefty can sling it.
Oh, the big lefty's got a strong arm, can make all the throws. Question on the mobility. He's a good pocket passer, but they're going to try and put a lot of pressure to condense the pocket. But if you give him time and keep him upright, he will absolutely pick you apart offensively as a signal caller.
6'4", 230 pounds, and beloved by his teammates and his hometown, from Greenville, North Carolina, and playing at his dream school here, trying to help the Pirates win a first bowl since 2013. The pass complete out to C.J. Johnson, and Johnson, you get a feeling in talking with the coaches that we will see a steady dose of Johnson on the outside.
Yeah, they're going to have an opportunity to move him to the slot a little bit with a couple of injuries. So he normally plays outside. They're moving him to the inside. And if he can make plays like that, showing you the versatility he's got as he's nearing 1,000 yards on the season.
Also out of that Greenville area, played at Conley High School. 2nd and 2. Ahlers tossing it out again, and once more the pass complete, this time to another Johnson. It's Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson working sideline for us, right? And she's also on the field, but you also take a good look at how quickly Ahlers is able to get rid of the football for a lefty. Very quick release, high spin rate, nice velocity, strong arm, but also I really like that quick release.
Been about a month since ECU last hit the field, 314 yards in that win in the era over Temple, and this one again complete. So 3 completions, 3 for 3 early on, and 3 different receivers. That's Isaiah Winstead.
Yeah, good job getting the ball to Winstead. The transfer from Toledo as well as Norfolk State, middle of the field. That's a quick crease, and you see they were able to get the ball there to him in a hurry. Nice route, nice design schematically.
1st and 10 from the ECU 45-yard line. Low snap handled by Ahlers, thrown as he hit, but completes the pass. This one to Jalen Johnson. Johnson, when he's been healthy this season, he's been really productive. A pickup of 17. Jamar Brown on the tackle.
Well, this is great quarterback play. Look at this ball where it's snapped. He goes down to get it. He's got to get rid of that ball with a split second. So that's knowing where you're going with the football before the ball is snapped, and then having the quick release to deliver the ball up the field.
Keeping it in the air, and once more it's to Jalen Johnson. Also important to note that decimated in that secondary for Coastal Carolina without their 2 starting cornerbacks, DeJordan Strong and Lance Boykin. For more on that, let's send it down to Jalen.
We talked about those guys that have opted out or the ones that decided to stay, but the team wanted everybody to know that even though they're glad that Grayson and them decided to stay and play in this game, they don't have any hard feelings against the guys who decided to go ahead and for the draft.
How about this? Keaton Mitchell on the outside, his first carry, the dynamic sophomore running back who was pushed out of bounds by Taven Jackson, but that was after a 26-yard gain.
Yeah, coming into this game, I thought Mitchell was special. He could be one of the best running backs in the country, and this is a school that produced Chris Johnson, who ran for 2,000 yards in the NFL. He shows those flashes with the speed, and they're able to make himself small and bounce outside in a hurry.
2-time first-team All-AAC selection. Better than 1,300 yards on the ground to lead the conference. Now 1st and goal for the Pirates. Ahlers, who's been 5 for 5, incomplete, but a penalty marker comes out. In this Big 12 officiating crew, signaling a false start.
And so if it is, you want to move him back 5 yards.
Illegal formation, offense. There were more than 4 players lined up in the backfield. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Tuda Salam, our official, so backing up.
That right there, just too many people in the backfield. See, the flag was thrown early, but if you're East Carolina, you're saying, hey, I just have more real estate to work with now. They've been using the pass effectively, and also throwing a little bit of Keaton Mitchell.
41 of 49 in the red zone from the 10, 1st and goal, and it's complete. as Kerry King, or excuse me, incomplete. It was pushed out of bounds, so 2nd and goal. We talked about how, again, number of players opting out in that secondary, and you see there one of those feet out of bounds. First incompletion for Holton Ahlers. Chad Staggs, you saw him on the sideline, who was the defensive coordinator, still calling the plays on defense.
The ruling on the field of an incomplete pass is under further review.
Pretty close, but one foot was clearly out of bounds, but this is a college football game, so all you need is 1 foot down. Are they trying to look to see, did he get the foot down prior to the foot clearly being out of bounds on the sideline? Let's see. I thought that foot was off the ground. We had another angle going up that sideline. All right, it is a pretty good look there.
Bang, bang. Again, the call on the field was an incomplete pass. Unless there is irrefutable evidence to overturn that, Jay, it would be difficult to see that one ruled as a completion.
Yeah, and I think as you slow it down, that foot, that right foot, is it down? Is it off the ground? That's out. Oh, then you start to see the drag. I think that's going to stay an incomplete pass.
I think so too, because does he have
close? But that foot's coming down. So I think the foot right there is airborne.
It seemed like when he actually took possession of it, when he stamped that other foot down out of bounds, he didn't seem to have it all the way in and a foot down in the field of play. Well, this East Carolina team coming in at 7-5 on the season, finished tied for 6th in the American, looking for back-to-back 7-win seasons. They've been able to accomplish that under Mike Houston, but as we mentioned before, seeking their first bowl win since 2013 when they downed Ohio in that Beef O'Brady's Bowl. Still taking a look at this one.
And I'm going to go back to, unless you can absolutely say with 100% certainty that that foot was in bounds, I think you go with the call that's down on the field. Bang, bang play by the crew there. And you can see why they take a look at it. But I do think you go with what you saw on the field.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is an incomplete pass. 2nd down.
And that's one there. That's a teachable moment. So Kerry King, the receiver, number 17, just a true freshman. So next year at this time, he makes that catch and he drags that foot along before he goes out of bounds, knowing where he is on the football field.
So after the review, it's 2nd and goal from the Coastal 10-yard line. Holton Ahlers has been near perfect on this drive to bringing him within striking distance. Drops back to pass again, looking, pressure from behind, gets it out of his hand. But coming up from behind was Jaquan Griffin. Griffin transferred in from Georgia Tech. And I'll bring up 3rd and goal.
And one of the times they made him escape from the pocket, the pressure's getting there. They stopped him from his rhythm. First read was not there. Didn't have time to look for a secondary read. Big play by the Chanticleer defense. And this is where ECU can be so hard. Their wide receivers are 6'3", 6'4", across the board. If they can find a one-on-one matchup, they really like to expose those 50-50 jump ball opportunities.
And they're taking an opportunity to review that last play again to see if the quarterback's knee was down or not.
And there was great pressure there. And, I was surprised that Ahlers was able to get rid of the football. It looked like a sure sack, but then we saw the ball come out, so I can understand why they're reviewing this. Let's take a look and see, is the knee down? Yeah, I call that down. That's a sack.
So back-to-back plays reviewed here, and another look at it, and yes, Jay, it looks definitive that that knee was down at the 20-yard line.
Yep, started the arm motion, but the knee was down, so I think he should be rewarded. Griffin should be rewarded with the sack in that situation.
for Holton Ahlers, trying to go out on top. The senior is looking to deliver a bowl win. You know, the last time ECU was in a bowl game here in Birmingham was 2014 when they dropped one to Florida, but this time they can turn the tide and bowl eligible for the second consecutive season under Mike Houston. Remember, they made it to the 2021 Military Bowl, but it was canceled due to COVID protocols within the Boston College team, so they didn't actually play in a game. This is the first bowl game for the bulk of this Pirate roster.
One thing about it, I think the rest of the world's going to know what a good coach that Mike Houston is and what he has been for such a long period of time. Resume speaks for himself. A really good hire by the Pirates to.
After review, the quarterback's knee was on the ground prior to releasing the pass. The ball will be placed at the 20-yard line. It's 3rd down.
So credit Jaquan Griffin with the sack, a loss of 10 on the play. And now Coastal continuing to help back up ECU. Ball placed now at the 20 for 3rd and goal.
First time this game we're seeing an empty backfield. So trying to spread it out, and we'll see, can the protection hold up against this defensive pass rush from Coastal Carolina.
Ahlers calls his own number the entire way, taking the contact, getting back to the ball was last spotted, pickup of 9. A good hold there for the defense. JT Killen among others there to slow down Ahlers.
Yeah, what a good job. I mean, they got pushed around for most of that drive, but once they got inside the red zone, they made things tough for East Carolina, and having an offense that came out on fire with the opening drive, able to have them settle for a field goal attempt. Give credit to the defensive coordinator / interim coach Chad Staggs, having his defense get tough down inside the red zone.
28-yard attempt on the opening drive here for ECU. Andrew Conrad lines up, the hold is down, and it is good. So the Pirates strike first, and they get on the board here from Protective Stadium. Come back with us. We'll see Coastal. What's the Grinch got in store still this holiday season? Come back. Upcoming featured ESPN football lineup: Michigan takes on TCU, and Georgia squares off against Ohio State in the college football playoff semifinals Saturday. Man, oh man, it's going to be some great television. And this is what this time of year is all about, right? We always talk about the most wonderful time of the year. Holiday season is synonymous with bowl season. Michigan, can they not live with, or shake that regret from last season and take down TCU, who's coming to crash the party?
An heavyweight matchup, an open around matchup. You normally expect to see Georgia taking on Ohio State in the championship game, but it'll be a playoff game. Big time programs will be on display.
Coastal receives it as Taven Jackson on the return, and a first chance that we'll get an opportunity to see Grayson McCall and just what he has done this season for the Chanticleers. Boy, he is a dynamic quarterback who could translate to the next level. We'll see where he decides to go next, but his numbers quite impressive. 2,600 yards plus through the air, 24 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions this season for the redshirt junior out of Indian Trail, North Carolina. And so now, ranking #1 in a number of categories. 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, hands it off to Reese White. And White with a pickup of about 5 yards. When you look at this Chanticleers offense, a spread option team. They like to hold on to the football. They possess it better than 32 minutes. And they like to keep it on the ground, and that's what they do. The first 2 plays is a strong run up ahead by Reese White. This one good enough to move the chains.
You see Reese White just showing you downhill running. one step running through would-be tacklers. Meet you at the hole. That's Miles Berry, one of the better defensive players for East Carolina. Got a nice little introduction from Mr. White.
Senior out of the Atlanta area now. 1st and 10 from the 32. McCall with the pass, looking, gets it out quickly, and the pass complete in the flat to TJ Ivy.
And watching the matchup, how's this going to play out? When you watch ECU defensively, they're very good against the run. But Coastal came out on a mission. We're going to establish we can run the ball. And ECU, one of the top 10 defenses in rush defense all season long. So you think Coastal's going to have to come out with Grayson McCall, pass. But a good job of trying to mix it up early in their play selection and ultimately coming up with positive yardage on each of their play calls.
See there in stopping the run this season, just allowing 111 yards on the ground is this Pirate defense. But Jarrett Brown, a valuable player for this team, was knocked pretty good by Gerard Stringer.
Yeah, but this is a fantastic play by Malik Fleming from the cornerback position. He's being double teamed. Pardon me, that's number 7. As you mentioned, Stringer getting double teamed. One blocking him in the front, one in the back. Still not going to be denied to slow down that play.
The safety who's been banged up the last couple of weeks, nursing a hamstring injury, looking strong here. First 3rd down on the way for the Sharks. And the pass is complete right at the sticks, and I think that's going to be good enough for a 1st down. It was into the hands of Jarrett Brown. Brown, who really did a nice job this season filling the role kind of wherever was needed on offense. They were thin at running back earlier in the season, and so he stepped in, and he's been rewarded with that Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. We'll call 14's number quite a bit tonight. A little more than 8 minutes to go in the opening quarter. The handoff to Braden Bennett. Braden Bennett with a short gain.
Guys up front able to move the pile for Coastal Carolina, led by their all-conference center, Willie Lampkin. Another one of those guys that entered the portal, but getting that forward push, able to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, running the football against a very good run defense. You know, and we heard Jalen talk about Grayson in the portal and Willie Lampkin in the portal. I agree with those guys going in the portal. And I'll explain to you after this play here.
C.J. Beasley joining the backfield, and offsides. Looked like defensive offsides on the Pirates. Player jumping into the neutral zone.
Yeah, so that'll be 5 yards there, but
Offside, number 8, defense. Enter the neutral zone, drawing an offensive reaction. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
so everybody now knows the transfer portal's there. Like it or not, it's there. But for guys like, you take a guy like Willie Lampkin, all-conference center, Coastal Carolina. He's 6 feet, 275, 280 pounds, but he wins his battles all the time. Doesn't matter what level competition he wins. Well, if he wants to say, I'm going to go up a level of competition so I can show the NFL scouts that I can play at a high level, why not? Why not? He's done all he can do at this level. Grayson McCall, the same thing. Some will question whether or not, he plays in an offense that's, unfamiliar with, not pro-ready.
Bobbled snap, and fortunate to come up with it and hold on to it as Jeremy Lewis and a slew of other purple jerseys were around him. Loss of 6 on the play.
See right there, we talked about Willie Lampkin, then the snap might have been a little bit off target there, but McCall does a good job of minimizing the damage. But this is where, if I'm Grayson McCall, I want this game. And East Carolina gives up almost 300 yards passing per game. People want to see, can Grayson McCall light them up for 300-plus yards passing a game, and also about 50, 60 yards of total offense of rushing yards as well.
On 3rd and 7, chased out of the pocket, keeps his eyes downfield, has a man open, and just misses Jarrett Brown. Oh, but penalty markers fly out, a couple of them near the 50-yard line. You see the frustration there from Willie Lampkin, just as we've talked about him on this drive. And so the officiating crew trying to talk things over.
Grayson McCall hopes this is a penalty against ECU because he missed a wide open wide receiver, something that he does not miss often. 70% passer on the season, streaking receiver down the sideline, and he was rushed on the throw.
Well, Coastal Carolina, we talked about, #1 in pass efficiency, but we'll see what the call is here on those 2 penalties.
There's 2 fouls on the play. Holding, number 57, offense. The penalty is declined. After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 57, Coastal Carolina. This is first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game. 15-yard penalty, it's 4th down.
Well, just as we were giving some glowing remarks about Willie Lampkin, a couple of miscues there and backed up another 15 yards. And it was the frustration we saw after the play.
Yeah, and you see here, I mean, it's a whole going away from him. And this is the throw here where McCall dismisses it, not able to square around as he would like to, as Julius Wood, the safety, was coming up to put pressure on him. But we've seen Lampkin a little fired up in this game. He's been chippy, playing with a chip on his shoulder for his final career start for the Chanticleers.
Crenshaw on the punt, and Malik Fleming gives a fair catch signal. And we will step aside as well. Lampkin will cool off as East Carolina will have the ball when we come back.
The College Football Playoff Semifinals, Saturday, December 31st on ESPN.
Birmingham Bowl is brought to you by Ticket Smarter. Experience the power and excitement of live events with Ticket Smarter. Think smart, think Ticket Smarter. And Dollar General. Save time, save money every day.
Houston Cougars out of the American, the last to win it here, as we welcome you back to the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania, a quadruple header on ESPN today. And coming up next, Wisconsin and Oklahoma State, as ECU back on the field for their second drive. Keaton Mitchell on the carry, and Keaton Mitchell still on his feet across the 30, 40. Keaton Mitchell into Sean's territory, still going. You said this guy is a special talent, and on that run, we got a glimpse of it right there.
The vision and the balance. I mean, swerving down the field. This is a lot like, like when you watch Gale Sayers start on one side of the field, then will come on the other side of the field. When you think he's going out of bounds, makes another cut. Mitchell showing you why he averaged over 7.5 yards per carry running the football. We knew he'd make an impact on this game, and I was good to see them give him the ball on first down to get him established.
Second in the nation in that category, Jay, on that opening drive. 10 plays, 70 yards as Holton Ahlers started out 5 for 5. Now he puts it in the air again and has room in the flat, and that's C.J. Johnson, but a penalty marker comes out.
And I'm the type, I put pressure on the quarterback and the offensive coordinator, Donnie Kirkpatrick. If you're going to throw the ball on first down and not give the ball to Keaton Mitchell, then your quarterback better make a throw and complete the pass and pick up positive yardage. And that's good synergy when you can run and throw the ball.
Personal foul, illegal blindside block. Number 1, offense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
So another look at it here. That's called on Jalen Johnson.
And you'll see it as he's going out there all. And that's what they're taking out of college football. He could have just walled him off. Instead, he lowered the shoulder, tried to do the little keep your head on a swivel block there. In college football, you know, we've seen it all season long. They're calling it. If you could have gone up to him and pushed him and been just as effective, they wouldn't have flagged it. But we've seen it called tight, and they're not going to let you get away with those type of hits when a guy's not looking. Defensive player.
And the officials still conferring. This is like an all-star crew, if you will, out of the Big 12.
The foul occurred during the pass play. The penalty will be enforced from the previous spot.
So that negates that completion to C.J. Johnson and wipes off that 8-yard gain. And now it's 1st and 25 as they continue to march back to the 46-yard line. And there's Donnie Kirkpatrick in the box looking down, and the offensive coordinator told us this week, hey, look, we're looking to establish the run. We hear coordinators talk about that all the time, but when you have a special guy and an arm talent like Holton Ahlers, you feel very confident putting it through the air as well. Keaton Mitchell, number 2. Well, every time he carries the football, you hold your breath for just a second.
Edge of your seat runner. You know, every time he gets it, you know he can do something. And, you know, fun to watch because he accelerates so quickly. It does not take him many steps to get to full speed. Can hit the hole in a hurry. And Coastal Carolina, you know, they're weak in the secondary. They've got guys that are not playing in the secondary, but I think you still have to use one of your best players, and that's Keaton Mitchell, featuring him in the football and then throwing the ball when needed.
On 2nd and 14, and the pass complete to C.J. Johnson.
And this is the part that's got to be interesting. Coastal Carolina right now defensively is on the verge of giving up a 1st and 25, almost 1st and 30, and they're making it look easy. They're getting yardage in big chunks, and I know they're trying to cover the weaknesses in the secondary, but right now Donnie Kirkpatrick is exploiting this defense. Coach Staggs, when you lose your 2 starting cornerbacks, you don't want to put the backups on the island. At a certain point in this game, they're going to have to grow up and make some plays in the secondary.
And they're without their bandit and All-American Josiah Stewart as well. Hadn't mentioned his name yet. On 3rd and 6, Ahlers has a receiver, and Johnson just falls down. He was wide open, would have easily converted. Instead, that brings up 4th and 6 in the offense, trying to stay on the field. Holton Ahlers saying, wait a minute. Let's stay.
Yeah, this is wide open. Just bad footing there. Jalen Johnson trying to cut. I always tell you, don't cut from the inside foot, cut from the outside foot. Would have been an easy 1st down and then some, as he ran a great route, turning the defensive back around.
They don't mind going for it on 4th down, converted 11 times this season, and the penalty marker comes out. Has a man one-on-one coverage,
Touchdown.
And in for the touchdown, that's Isaiah Winstead. And the celebration begins. There was a flag that came out, but it looked like a free play, and Holton Ahlers just lofted it up.
Absolutely. Your quarterback knew he got him to jump off sides with the hard count. Why not go to your 6'4" wide receiver, Isaiah Winstead, the transfer from Norfolk State in Toledo. He wins those 50-50 balls there, and going against a depleted secondary.
Defense in the neutral zone at the snap. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
And watch this. They know they got it, so why not take a chance? Go up top, and good hand placement by Winstead to put himself in a position to get a little shove on the true freshman, Matthew McDoom, playing cornerback, advantage ECU.
Conrad on to attempt the extra point. And a 10-0 lead in this 1st quarter for ECU. The 2nd team All-American Conference player Isaiah Winstead brings it in and puts the Pirates up by 10. Let's take a look at tonight's clutch delivery, brought to you by Chipotle.
One-on-one coverage on the outside, get the ball to your 6'4" wide receiver and make a play, taking advantage of the freshman in the secondary. Designed schematically, really taking advantage of the penalty by Coastal Carolina.
Winstead, you see there, over 1,000 yards receiving, one of the top wideouts in the American Athletic Conference. And right now, ECU with the lead at 3:47 remaining in the opening quarter. On the return, that's Jarrett Brown trying to go wide and get to the other side of the field, across the 20, 25, and then pushed out of bounds, and a flag. Several of them come out afterward as Brown sailed into Pirate territory and pushed out of bounds and beyond. Mike Edwards was the guilty party.
Yeah, easy call for the officials to make. Seemed as if Brown took about 3 or 4 steps out of bounds before he was hit late. And that's why you see people down on the ground afterwards, you know, on that sideline. They have to protect the players that are not in the game, the coaches that are over there. So if you hit a guy on the sideline, you better make sure that he's in bounds. In that case there, that was an easy call for the officials to make.
And Jarrett Brown still down.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, late hit out of bounds, number 38, kicking team. 15 yards will be added to the end of the return. First down.
And you see in Mike Houston having a conversation with Mike Edwards afterward, and just kind of bumped into a number of people on that Pirate sideline. And Jarrett Brown, a 6-foot redshirt freshman, still being tended to on the sideline. East Carolina penalized the least in all of FBS football in terms of yards, but here tonight, slightly undisciplined already with 40 yards given away.
Yeah, you know, that last penalty, I mean, it wasn't malicious, it was a push, but the fact is, it looked like Brown was giving himself up like, hey, I'm out of bounds, took a step or two, and the shove came, didn't show any restraint. And let's hope for Coastal Carolina's sake that Brown is able to get up, and right now let's hope we can get up and then hopefully return to this football game.
We've seen some chippiness on the field. Jalen, what have you seen from your perspective?
Yeah, it's been a little chippy down here, Tiff. After multiple plays that we've seen so far, there have been guys kind of doing a little bit extra talking, a little bit extra pushing and stuff in. So we might want to keep an eye on that going throughout this game. But right now, I will make sure that I give an update for you guys on Jarrett Brown as soon as I get it.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate it. And we hope, like you said, Jay, everything is okay with that young man and the fantastic season that he's had thus far for Coastal. And while they're having an opportunity to take a look and just see about Jarrett Brown, who is now standing on his feet with some assistance, but the body language says a lot there too.
That's tough.
Responsive.
Doesn't seem stable.
Well,
it's going to be a long walk all the way across the field. He's over on the East Carolina sideline. He's going to need some assistance getting over there.
and very gingerly and carefully walking over.
It's pushed him. I mean, it's like a pinball machine. You know, you're running into a bunch of bodies there. Hit a coach, hit another player, and folks coming over. And tough break for Coastal Carolina. I mean, you get the penalty, but he's one of the featured players in this offense.
You think about just what the psyche was like for Coastal coming in. I mean, we mentioned at the top of the broadcast just about, you know, number of players opting out, whether they're preparing for the NFL draft or going into the transfer portal. Naturally, injuries are part of the season, but when we had a chance to talk with interim head coach Chad Staggs, he felt like this was an excited week of practice. I mean, you couldn't even tell, he said, for the last few practices, all that was going on with inside the program.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different bunch. I mean, you don't win 10 games in a season, you know, back-to-back season just by being average. So they're trying to play right now to win this 10th game this year so they can say we did it 3 years in a row. And this class is special. And give credit to Chad Staggs, the job he's done keeping this all together. We had an opportunity to meet up with Tim Beck, who's going to take over as the head coach there, and he said, hey, Coach Staggs deserves a lot of credit. He's done a good job of keeping these guys focused, and you just wonder how much longer can they continue to block out all the distractions.
Well, good time to tell you that the All-State Sugar Bowl is New Year's Eve at noon Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes, as well as the at Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and number 5, Alabama taking on Deuce Vaughn and the 9th-ranked Kansas State crew out of Manhattan. First ever meeting between these two schools. Back to play, and Tyson Mobley, who had a career high in receiving yards in their last game in that conference championship against Troy, 109 yards. Completion here, his first of the night.
And we need to see Grayson McCall trying to take over this football game. I'm getting the feeling this is going to be a shootout. You know, there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game, and you can't fall behind by too many points. And if you're Coastal Carolina, your offense needs to be on the field a lot more than your defense.
Well, Coastal puts up close to 30 points a game on offense. And on 2nd and 3, it's complete. Mobley again, and stopped just short. And it'll bring up 3rd down. That was Jairo Wilson on the stop.
They let you know he's coming from that safety position, so they're trying to bring pressure all over the field, bringing blitzing safeties and outside linebackers. Good job by Grayson McCall with his decision-making, get rid of the football quickly. You have to see him running this football game. He is a threat running the ball.
Sends a man in motion, bouncing out the line, handoff. And Reese White, with that second effort, able to get across and pick up the first down.
Very fortunate, too, because there was a shift that was done by East Carolina, and you wonder why they're so good against the run. When this ball snapped, look at all those purple jerseys. You've got 5 purple jerseys over on that side of the field against just 4. Coastal Carolina very fortunate that they were able to pick up that yard that was needed, because I thought that the Pirates were going to stuff them.
Right there at the 50, White stays in the ball game. McCall flicks it out, and the pass is hauled in by Sam Pinckney. Pinckney, who started his career and played all 4 years at Georgia State, now in his 5th season of eligibility. 1st and 10 again, and Reese White on the carry.
And going back to Sam Pinckney, old man Sam as they call him, what a find he's been for Coastal Carolina. You mentioned he played at Georgia State, but you just don't find 6'4" wide receivers walking around the street that can actually play. And you see the numbers there, came in and made an immediate impact, and I think he really benefited playing with a quarterback like Grayson McCall. You like that nickname? Old Man Sam.
Yeah.
That's what they call him.
Well, we've seen the good passing numbers put up by this Coastal team, 16th in the nation. Balanced attack, though, that's been the approach. And McCall takes off himself, and McCall picks up the first down. You said he has that ability, and first time we've seen it tonight.
You know, figures it out once there's a running lane open there. Quick decision. It's all about quick decisions. It's not there. Turn, make up my mind. I'm going to pick up some positive yards, help out my offensive coordinator, calling his own number. Good job by Grayson McCall.
See Newland Isaac and Willie Korn, the co-offensive coordinators.
Razzle dazzle.
The double pass right back and into the hands, and it's complete to TJ Ivy. Ivy now inside the 5-yard line, down to about the 1. 25-yard pickup on the trickeration.
And he lines up as a tight end, then slips behind the linebacker, and nice play design by the co-offensive coordinators, Isaac and Korn. Sounds like a law office, doesn't it? Good job of sneaking him out.
And that brings us to the end of the first quarter. Well, Coastal's been outscored in the last 2 games in the opening period as ECU came out, revved up. Holton Ahlers and company put up 10 here from the Birmingham Bowl. There it is. There's the trophy. The Progressive Bowl Challenge Cup is here at the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl and will be awarded to the conference that has the highest winning percentage in the postseason. As we take a look at the standings, who do you think is on top? Oh, man, they put it up too quickly. The ACC currently atop. They've got 7 bowl games remaining, but a lot can change over the next week or two. So it's all good. Got a long way to go.
Absolutely.
Still got to run that race. But here, more importantly, first and goal, Coastal trying to answer, get on the board, and Grayson McCall finds his way just short of the end zone. They say yes, it's a touchdown. He's in. He was trying to push and push a little bit through, and you see McCall afterward having some words with the official, as that was a hard-earned touchdown sneak in.
Yeah, once again, McCall saw the shift and realized they were running uphill. What do we mean by uphill? When they've got more bodies where the play is designed to go than you have. So he saw the shift and said, if we run the ball to the left, we're not going to get there. He pulled it, called his own number, and got just enough yardage to get across the goal line.
2 rushes, 10 yards for Grayson McCall. Boy, he was spectacular on that drive. 4 for 4 for 47 yards through the air. And then coming away with a touchdown. Cade Hensley on to attempt the extra point. As Grayson McCall.
The field of a touchdown was under further review.
So they're going to take another look at that scoring play to see if it indeed stands. They were slow to signal, actually. And so Tuta Salam will sprint to take another look at it. Yeah, he's got to go all the way to the opposite 20. So from left to right on your screen to review this one. And let's take another peek at it here, Jay.
So close. I mean, gets to the goal line, gets turned around, and I'm going to go again unless you see something concretely that says he did not cross the goal line. You may have that angle, but as he goes there, I thought at some point I saw the ball extend. So that elbow's there. They push him back. Make it look.
So
like
you see the
back.
signal there, but to the top of the screen, the other official marked him short. Yeah. And that was the first official who said, no, he's coming up short.
So close. I mean, when he makes that spin, and I'm going to go back. Are you 100% sure the ball did not cross the plane when he makes a spin right there? I mean, close.
Based on that, I would say he's short.
A little bit, and I can see that. But then there was another official that saw it, so it's definitely close. Yeah,
and from that angle.
And that ball was in the left hand, so I'm going to think you're right that he may be a couple of inches short, but.
After review, when the quarterback's right knee was on the ground, the ball was short of the goal line. It'll be second down, just short of the goal line.
So they reverse the call on the field, and the offense will trot back on for Coastal as Grayson McCall was stopped short in his last attempt. Now this is where you'd like to see one of those instances. You take it under center, and you just push it in. Now this is a spread option offense that we've seen so many teams around the country, take it out of the shotgun, but he's standing at about the 6-yard line. The ball's placed on the 1.
Give it to White, let him run downhill. Option.
And they pitch it out in that option, and Reese White walks into the end zone this time for the touchdown. So Coastal Carolina officially now on the board.
Good job. I think everybody thought they were going to give the ball to White, let him just run up the middle. Well, move him to the sideline. You got a quarterback that can run, come in, make the quick pitch into the end zone. Good job by the Chanticleer offense, scoring their first touchdown of the game.
Hensley trying to cap off this 9-play, 60-yard drive. 4 minutes taken off the clock, and the second offensive possession yields a touchdown for the Chanticleers.
Good job, and it was a nice, impressive drive, but how they were able to get down there with the big play there, schematically, they drew up some things that really did it. Let's go back to the big play that really helped them get down there when they did the razzle-dazzle. The first thing you have to do is identify T.J. Beck. He's going to stop block on this guy here and then get a free release. And once he gets that free release, you're going to see number 11, Jeremy Lewis, peek in the backfield. He's dropping. I've got him. Oh, you're not going to block me. Uh-oh, I got caught peeking in the backfield. All of a sudden, you see T.J. Ivey running down the sideline. It's the distraction. It's the eye candy. That's why they draw up those plays like that, to get the linebackers getting disengaged from their keys, peeking in the backfield, trying to make a play, and exposing them. And a good job by Willie Korn and Newland Isaac coming up with that play.
Well, Grayson McCall with his 6th rushing touchdown of the season. And the group out of the Sun Belt on the board. Marlon Gunn takes it from the 5 across the 20, 25, and lunging out ahead. Well, Jay, a staple of our broadcast throughout the season. It's got to put a little seasoning on Jay's Give Me 5.
Yeah, the 5 things that excite me about this bowl game right here. Number 5, we're in Birmingham. Birmingham, if you don't know, has some of the best barbecue out there. Love to tailgate around here. For the Carolina controversy, well, who's the best team out of the Carolinas? And all that's going on with Coastal Carolina, with coaching change and everything else. 3 and 2, the star power. I like those players there. Number 1, the Carolina flavor. Now, you know I like barbecue, right? You want South Carolina? That's where Coastal Carolina's located. Got North Carolina, where East Carolina's located. They got 2 contrasting styles of barbecue. What's your favorite?
I like whatever sauce C.J. Johnson has after the catch, as he was able to pick up some yak, gain of 15 in total.
This is why you like the size. You like the big wide receivers that they have across the board, because they can run after catch or get those yards after catch, break tackles, take a simple 5-yard play and make it a first down. And the wide receiver coach, Latrell Scott, he's a big guy himself, and he likes big wide receivers, doing a great job.
Holton Ahlers finds C.J. Johnson again. Well, we saw ECU average nearly 12 yards per play in that opening quarter, and once again, back-to-back double-digit plays for first downs for the Pirates.
Yeah, get your seatbelts on. I mean, this game, these teams are going to go back and forth, up and down the field. You can tell, you just have that feeling. You got premier quarterbacks that are picking apart the defense, athletic wide receivers. Let's not forget about that fantastic running back in Keaton Mitchell, who's in the backfield.
About 12 of the 15 plays we've seen from the Pirates thus far have been in coastal territory, and they keep on churning through. That pass complete in a gain of 5.
Still like to see you get Keaton Mitchell involved. I know your quarterback is hot. Holton Ahlers right now is hot. He's picking them apart, making it look easy. But I think Coastal Carolina's content giving up the throws in front of them. So they're going to make him stretch the whole field. But I think that Mitchell can be a game breaker from the running back position.
They give it to Keaton Mitchell, and he's snuffed down and brought down behind the line of scrimmage. A loss of 2, coming in very swiftly to make the tackle was number 30.
And it starts with that penetration up the middle by Gerard Clark, number 15. He's a big man, nose tackle position there, then get some help from the secondary. But look at that. That's a big boy right there. Yeah, that's nose tackle. That's 6'4", 350 pounds.
Hard to move in the middle, Gerard Clark. 3rd and 7. So far not able to convert here, but the quick pitch out ahead, and Keaton Mitchell standing at the right place, right time. But what a tackle made. And a great play by Jaron Parker to stop Mitchell short of the first down marker.
Oh, man, 'cause he would have taken this to the house. Great recognition. Able to throw the ball, quick little flip. And if he does not make that tackle there was daylight and a blocker for Keaton Mitchell.
2 yards to gain. 4th down. Keaton Mitchell, tough running up ahead.
Close.
And oh man, you look at the spot and it looks like he's going to be short. It's going to be very close. But based on that, you see the entire Coastal sideline coming over and saying, oh no, turnover on downs, we held them. And they did. And you see interim head coach and defensive coordinator Chad Staggs pumped up about it.
Well, he's saying get off the field because he knows that the way that they've been challenging stuff in this game and the replay booth is looking at everything. They're going to take a look at this again to see if the spot was right. But give it up for the Black Swarm defense coming up with a stop on 4th down.
Welcome back to the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl here as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania. Jay Walker, Tiffany Green along with Jalen Johnson from Beham. 10-7 ball game in favor of East Carolina, but what a great hole from the Chanticleers defense. A turnover on downs, they get the ball back, scored a touchdown on their last drive, but how about Chad Stevens coming up with the big tackle for a loss? Well, Stevens was a full-time starter this year after having to split time last season.
A great job shooting the gap, making the tackle for a loss on 1st down. One thing the Pirates do, they like to get you in negative plays, get you playing behind the sticks, make you one-dimensional. There's a reason why they're one of the top rush defenses in the country.
McCall quickly getting it out on the perimeter, and that's C.J. Beasley. Beasley with a gain of about 6 so far tonight. Grayson McCall, 9 of 10 through the air. You talked about his great completion percentage so far. It's at about 89%. And currently an injured Pirate on the field, Chad Stevens, pops up under his own power. Out of Greensboro, North Kakalaki.
And the coaches say Stevens stepped up this year. Had a really good year. First year as a starter. Played well, and the future's bright for that young man. Good size. We saw him make a fantastic play in this drive earlier. You talk about Grayson McCall. Just makes everything look effortless. Nice throw and release. Smart, heady quarterback. True dual threat guy.
And he and his offense have been effective on 3rd down, 2 of 3. This one got to pick up 9. Call looking. Oh, what a throw on the outside, and a penalty marker comes out at the end, targeting Sam Pinckney. And Tegan Wilk was on the coverage. It looked like a PI into.
Pinckney will be the go-to guy. They just like to get the ball in his overall vicinity. Big catch radius, big target. That time it looks like they were awarded with the pass interference.
Pass interference, number 28, defense.
No correction, that was Siobhan Ravel who was on the coverage and flag for the pass interference. 5 penalties now, 55 yards for ECU. Grayson McCall and the Chants offense moving again. High snap, handle, brought down, and just through the hands of his intended receiver. That'll bring up 2nd and 10. As Tucker couldn't haul it in.
And that's one of those cases where that's where normally you would find Jared Brown there playing that slot wide receiver role there. Tucker not able to make the catch. We knew that they were going to miss Jared Brown at some point in this game with him going out to an injury. You're going to need guys like Tucker and some of the other fellas to step up and make some plays.
See a lot of movement and shifting, and the pass complete to the outside. That's Tyson Mobley. Mobley, who has been a favorite target tonight of McCall. 4 catches now for Mobley. And for more on the injury update to Jared Brown, let's send it down to Jalen.
Yeah, Tiff, Jared Brown, I just got the update. He is out for the game with an upper body injury, so he will not return tonight.
And that is a huge blow for this Chants offense, because they were getting him going early, as they have done throughout the season for the Sun Belt Freshman of the Year. And that looked like a face mask, and yes it is, as C.J. Beasley was reined in, but that face mask against Deontay Johnson, and he knows it.
And didn't we say earlier, we showed a graphic that this is one of the least penalized teams in the country?
Face mask, number 56, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And you'll see they're just trying to run an obvious face mask, the yank and a turn by Deontay Johnson. Another penalty for East Carolina team there. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's something that you know Mike Houston is going to address when they head into the locker room. 4 15-yard penalties against his Pirate team. 1st and 10, the pitch to Braden Bennett, and Braden Bennett across the 20 inside the red zone, and Braden Bennett has Coastal once more within striking distance, 19 yards on that play.
And Bennett missed 9 games this season. They really thought had he played, they might not have lost one of the games they lost this season. He's a speed back, and that's what you call a speed option. When you get the snap as a quarterback, you're pitching the ball right away and letting the speed get to the edge, and you saw right there he was able to outrun defenders for the big pickup.
Well, the Chants in striking distance once more. They have a chance to take the lead. Come back to find out if they do.
The Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl is brought to you by TaxAct. File for less and get more. And Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Both teams spending their Christmases here in Birmingham, Alabama, and Sam Pinckney, we saw his family on one of those photos, and for more on that, we'll send it down to Jalen.
Yeah, you guys called him Old Man Sam earlier, but he's probably tired because he has a 2-year-old, Eliza Rose, and his wife, Claudia Grace. They actually made the trip to Birmingham. The coaching staff made sure that he was going to be able to be with his family and have them down here for Christmas. And he said he couldn't thank the coaching staff enough for thinking of him and his family so he could be with his wife and his daughter this week.
On 1st and goal, Grayson McCall has a pass to the end zone, and he's in. He bounces over, landing awkwardly on his head, but he bounces back up. And the Chanticleers take the lead.
And that is Grayson McCall football. Willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Dual threat runner, but more of a competitor. Been starting since he was a true freshman. He knows where the goal line is. Lands on his head, has to be a little bit scary with that right there. But this is a young man that is showing what he can do. Oh, tough landing there. Hoping he's okay. I'll be a little sore tomorrow, but a number of colleges would really benefit off of having his services, including Coastal Carolina.
Well, we talked about it before, and obviously it made news entering the transfer portal. Grayson McCall deciding to play and finish out this season to try to collect back-to-back bowl wins for this Coastal team. And when we talked with Chad Staggs, he said, look, that's the type of leader that he is. He says, I've got to play with the ones that I've got, and Grayson McCall is obviously an important piece of that. with an injury on the field. We will step aside. 8:52 remaining here from the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. All right, welcome back, and taking a look at that last scoring play. You see Grayson McCall landing awkwardly on his head. Elijah Morris, the ECU player in your near screen, was down for a moment. He headed into the tent, and obviously a scary moment for both sides. Grayson McCall also found his way into the tent as well. Meanwhile, 14 unanswered points for the Chanticleers. They're on top 14-10. Well, Friday night we'll have a lot of orange at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. Number 6 Tennessee takes on number 7 Clemson at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. And of course you can catch it on the app. Not who we thought would be at quarterback at this point in the season, really, for either team, Jay, before the season. But Joe Milton and Cade Klubnik should put on a great show.
Yeah, Milton, waiting for this opportunity. I remember when he was a quarterback at the University of Michigan, then transferred to Tennessee, got off to a rough start there. Hendon Hooker won the job, but Milton stepped up, made some plays late in the season. And anytime you be a quarterback for a top 10 team in the country, it is a privilege.
On his own goal line, Marlon Gunn bringing it out across the 20, 30. Marlon Gunn still on his feet. He's got some room, tripped up near the 49-yard line. A strong return and great starting field position for the ECU Pirates.
And this is just speed right here. Just you run the color. On special teams return, you run the color. He doesn't see any white jerseys in the screen. By the time he sees the kicker, able to change directions in great field position to start this drive for the Pirates.
When we talked with Mike Houston, he noted the fact that in watching some of the bowl games this season, special teams play was key throughout, whether the wins or losses. And right now, his special teams unit set him up nicely. Holton Ahlers on first down, the pass incomplete to Jalen Johnson. And I know you said it before, Jay, wanting to see a little bit more of the run game with Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, I think Mitchell's going to be a problem in this game. He's a force, but one thing about East Carolina, I mean, they're a throw the football first type offense, over 288 yards a game passing, but they rush for 170 yards. You just feel like if they were to force the run a little bit more, they could wear down this Coastal Carolina defense.
They keep it in the air, and the pass is into the hands of Isaiah Winstead. Winstead, who caught that touchdown earlier in this ball game. 7 yards. And now we'll see what Donnie Kirkpatrick, the offensive coordinator, dials up here.
Look at Coastal defensively. Soft coverage. See, they're off. They'll let you try to execute, but they're not going to give you the big play.
Free play, though, for Holton Ahlers going for it. And it's incomplete, but that'll go against Coastal.
Offside, number 99, defense in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty, third down. Correction, the 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
So that was Kennedy Roberts. Remember the last time that happened, Holton Ahlers found Winstead for the touchdown.
Found a touchdown. So you have to know, as a D lineman, experienced quarterback is going to try to draw you off sides. Really tough to have those guys up front resist when they're trying to get to the quarterback and pressure him with those fast twitch muscles. But you got to look at the football, read your keys. Double move up
Ahlers
top.
has a man getting behind the coverage and hauled in. What a catch made by Jalen Johnson. Put there beautifully by Holton Ahlers, and Johnson reels it in for 35 yards.
Great football play. Watch this double move. Sell the hitch and the go, and you see Jacob Prochet trying to grab him because he knew he was beat, but the ball was placed perfectly. That was either going to be a holding call or a big play for ECU. Great execution. You know what I really like about that?
Yeah.
You know the cornerbacks are a little bit weak or suspect. Give them some double moves. Make them think. You can tell that They've been trying to protect these guys in the secondary, and this is going to be a touchdown as you draw it up easy. But way to expose the youthfulness in the secondary of Coastal Carolina.
A flag comes out as Tyler Savage with the touchdown. We've seen a number of penalties thrown here in this first half. The crew in black and white will talk it over a little bit more.
Maybe a wide receiver hold. If that's of the holding variety, that'll be tough. That'll back him up 10.
Number 11, offense. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Did they catch him on a little rub route? Was this a block when the ball was in the air? Right there. Yeah, yep. And you know why? You can't go down there and block while the ball is in the air. Good call by the officials. Timing slightly off with the delay. Now look at that. Look at the difference in the field position.
Backs him up to the 22-yard line of Coastal. First and goal for ECU. And how about Holton Ahlers calling his own number, still on his feet, bouncing off a tackle just near that 10-yard line as he's brought down by Prochet.
6'4", 230 pounds coming at you. Calling his own number, trying to pick up some of the penalty yards back, and not there. Protects the football, gets a nice lead block by Isaiah Foote, number 66, taking on would-be tacklers from the Chanticleers. Big play.
Well, coming in, only 134 yards on the ground for Holton Ahlers, but you like the decision that he made there.
Particularly after the penalty. You know, so often young quarterbacks try and throw for it right away. He realized that it's first down. I just need to pick up some of the yardage we lost to the penalty and get us in position to try and get the ball in the end zone. Really done a good job showing his leadership, going with the hard count. Hasn't come close to throwing an interception. Throwing the ball over the field, calling his own numbers. He's been in control of this football game.
Boy, what a program changer he has been for East Carolina. Quite a gift to Mike Houston and to the town of Greenville. Ahlers looking, that one high and incomplete. That'll bring up third and goal.
Situation, what do you do? And you want to try to find a one-on-one matchup with your tall wide receivers against the young, inexperienced secondary of Coastal Carolina, but defensive coordinator, head coach Chad Staggs doing a really good job of giving the secondary some help. Too high safety look.
(13 of 17 through the air for Holton Ahlers, and that one into the hands of Winstead. Touchdown, his second of the ball game, and ECU grabs the lead back. Again, some beautiful throws we've seen from Holton Ahlers. That one was only where Winstead could bring it in.
And that's just when you got inexperience there, getting cornerbacks on the island. This is what you call that 50-50 jump ball going against Jacob Prochet. And you have to be thinking, this is what's so tough for Coastal Carolina. DeJordan Strong, their cornerback, starting cornerback, getting ready for the NFL draft, opts out. Lance Boykin, a captain, getting ready for the NFL draft, opts out. If for a team that prides itself on so much team chemistry, tough breaking. We see East Carolina taking advantage of the inexperience at secondary.
Cap off our bowl quadruple header with Wisconsin and Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. You can always watch it on the ESPN app from anywhere. The Badgers favored in that ball game. Meanwhile, Holton Ahlers and the Pirates of East Carolina on top 17-14. It's been a good ball game, just much like we expected, Jay Walker.
You have great quarterback play. You know the offense is going to show up. And the defense is going to be a challenge.
The question mark is obviously Grayson McCall. For more on that, let's send it down to Jalen.
Tiffany, Grayson McCall is questionable to return to this game. While he was in the medical tent, you could hear some frustration coming from out of there. Head coach Tim Beck went over to check on him, but he did go back into the locker room, so we will see if he will return to this game tonight.
We saw how awkwardly he landed the head and the neck area, so Jarrett Guess will come in and take over the backup quarterback.
Snap infraction. Number 57, offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
One goes against the center, Willie Lampkin, but you think about Jarrett Guess playing 5 games this season, last one coming on November 26th in that loss to James Madison. And so now he takes over the reins with his team trailing by a field goal. The handoff to Braden Bennett, and Bennett, who is stopped. The defense there coming up big, and that's Chad Stevens with a tackle for loss.
Yeah, big fella. They say he's been playing good all year, making another tackle behind the line of scrimmage. Showing you the activity, the motor, just a sophomore. Plenty of football ahead of him, but at 6'1", 270 pounds and a quick first step, he's been trouble.
You saw just that quick look at Chad Staggs.
Yeah.
And it's just been that kind of December for Coastal Carolina as that pass is complete. And through it all, they still find themselves in a great position to try to win their 2nd consecutive bowl game in back-to-back seasons. Still closing in on 10 wins if they can come out victorious. And he's helped to man the ship, steady it, and bring him through uncharted waters.
Absolutely. Defensive coordinator, defensive minded. But this is the Coastal offense that needs to make some plays. We've got a young quarterback, not young, but not experienced quarterback in the game right now.
And the pass incomplete on 3rd and 9. And first 3 and out for either team.
And if you're Coastal Carolina, you just want to get out of this half. Maybe see if Grayson McCall can come back in the second half and participate in this football game. I mean, they put up a good fight, but McCall's a difference maker. This is a completely different offense with him in the game and with him out of the game. Guess is more of a gunslinger, likes to throw the ball all over the field, quick release, not the threat running the ball that McCall is. And this is an offense which is an option-based attack.
Crenshaw punts it away. And quickly met there as Malik Fleming goes down immediately. Well, let's take a look at tonight's performance update brought to you by Tax Act and Holton Ahlers. The ECU great back shoulder throw, putting it on the dime, finding Winstead, and then this time Jalen Johnson set up the go-ahead touchdown right here once more to the transfer from Toledo and Norfolk State. And the numbers speak for themselves for Holton Ahlers. 14 of 18 tonight. He's looked exceptional, 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this is a guy who you credit for staying the course, right? During those rebuild years with Mike Houston. And when we talked with Coach, he got emotional just about Holton Ahlers and what he's meant, and going for it again, trying to test that secondary. And again, the inexperience there they have. And Chase Atkinson, the redshirt sophomore.
Pass interference, number 20, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Flagged right there.
Yeah, just trying to exploit the secondary. These guys are not tested. 2 starting cornerbacks not on this trip. Atkinson gets caught no man's land. All he can do is hold. And I think right now they're just trying to throw some bodies out there and see who can step up and make a play at the cornerback position.
And Keaton Mitchell, who's shedding some tacklers and dancing around on an 8-yard pickup on first down. We've seen Donnie Kirkpatrick really prefer to throw the ball more on first down.
And taking advantage of the weakness in the secondary for Coastal Carolina, but at the end of the day, doing a pretty good job mixing it up. But I'm a big fan of Keaton Mitchell. I just like seeing him run the ball. I would be curious to see if they can stop him 3 consecutive times.
Second in the American in rushing. They give it to him once more, and he picks up the first down. Interesting story about him. His father, Anthony, played football at Tuskegee and then went on to the NFL. You may remember him from the Baltimore Ravens. There he is. He had that 90-yard return on that blocked field goal in that playoff game against Tennessee as the Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl that season. So great football bloodline as C.J. Johnson, the big target outside. Pass complete to him.
You know his dad's got to be proud. Tuskegee also not too far away from here, about an hour and a half from Birmingham. And dad got a Super Bowl ring there, and the son is a difference maker. We see this is what you like for East Carolina. They want to close out the half well. They've got the lead, not content having a 3-point lead. Taking some time off the clock, trying to extend on the lead before the halftime. They've got Coastal Carolina on the ropes right now.
Important for the Chanticleers defense to try to hold them to perhaps just a field goal as C.J. Johnson, once again, the guy who came in closing in on 1,000 yards, another strong night, second team all-conference selection. And Johnson could pick up 1,000 yards receiving on the season here tonight. First and 10 from the 16. Hailers, the lefty, finds his target, and again, closing in on the end zone. This time, it's Hudson.
Well, if they see a one-on-one matchup, they're going to it, and that's what you can do when Ahlers is able to pick apart the coverage pre-snap read. He knows where he's going with the football. Rush isn't going to get there. Back shoulder. It's tough to defend for a starting cornerback, let alone a backup cornerback.
Taj Hudson sets up this 1st and goal from the 1-yard line of Coastal. Ahlers hands it off, and the hold and tackle made there on Camaro Edwards. First time getting a carry in this ball game.
I want to know where you're going to run the football.
Yeah.
So this is where you like having Gerard Clark, man in the middle. So you can run the ball a lot of places, but not up the middle when he's occupying the 2 gaps.
And they put Keaton Mitchell back in the ball game. 13 touchdowns on the season, making number 14, he's in. Keaton Mitchell, among the top 5 ECU running backs all time.
Going off tackle. Good job of turning him inside out by Justin Redd, another one of the transfers from Norfolk State, starting at that left tackle position. Look at that. Big hole right there. Good execution by the offensive line up front.
Back-to-back scores for ECU. And Conrad puts the Pirates up by 10 as we send it into the studio with Matt Berry.
Thank you. Coming up on the TikTok halftime report, we'll check in with TCU and Michigan, what they've got going in a big game for them. Plus, we'll hear from Kirby Smart in a Saturday full of bowl action. That and more coming up on the TikTok halftime report, if my voice allows. Wish us luck. Greg McElroy, join wow. I almost forgot Galloway's name. I was going to Joey McElroy.
That is a dollar. Hey,
Tough it out, Matt. Tough it out.
Oh, man, he's got it. He's got it. Look, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. This is the 3rd of 4 games. He's got one more to go. Hold on.
Ooh, that 4th one may be tough.
Wisconsin and Oklahoma State coming up next from the Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
At the end of the day, Joey likes to hear himself talk a lot too, so Joey can go ahead and take over. Got McElroy there in the studio.
Well, that's
He'll be all right.
the quarterback, likes to, direct things, run things. So McElroy can.
Are you making a hint here at your partner?
I'm just saying, partner. I'm saying, what position did you play?
Quarterback.
Oh, okay. No,
we can do it all. Yeah. Including we know when to hand the ball off to somebody as well.
Or if you're just tuning in, Jay Walker, Jalen Johnson down the field, Tiffany Green as well. ECU was up by 10, then 14 unanswered points by Coastal, and then answered once more by the Pirates. And you've seen the jump that's been made. That was a program that was down from 2015 to 2020. And after that COVID year, it was Mike Houston who's been able to move this program back into a winning direction. And he was very candid with us. Hey, look, this has been a challenging rebuild, but we've been successful nonetheless, and a chance to bring home their first bowl game win since 2013.
They're doing a good job of remaining focused. They wanted to play the bowl game. They did get the opportunity for a season ago, but look at the steady progression. We talk about trending in the right direction. This ECU program is knocking on the door of establishing traditions.
Yeah, he said, look, we've turned this program around. Now let's do something more significant and bring home a bowl victory. Remember, if you're just tuning in, Grayson McCall, the 3-time Sun Belt Player of the Year for Coastal Carolina. Quarterback went out earlier this quarter, so the backup, Jarrett Guess, now assumes that role. With 1:35 remaining here in the first half. Guess looking with time, a man over the middle, and can't connect with Sam Pinckney. Also important to note, Jarrett Brown went down earlier in this ball game, and they were utilizing him early on from that slot position.
It'd be really tough right now. I mean, the Grayson McCall thing is something. Entered the transfer portal, elected to play with his teammates, suffers an injury, and even if he's able to come back, I don't know if you bring him back in this game. I think you have to look out for the young man's best interest. He wants to play. Don't know if he's able to, but that's just something that's going to have to play out for the rest of this game. One of the worst fears I'm sure he had was, what happens if I get injured in this game? Am I less attractive to some of these other programs that may be interested in bringing me along?
And that's the risk that you naturally take, but he's playing that over and over in his mind as he's watching on 3rd and 1, and Jarrett Guess picks up the first down to keep it going. The clock will stop momentarily until they spot it. And then resume.
Takedown.
And that was Jeremy Lewis. And that was just unnecessary right there, Jay. Already the least penalized team in FBS coming in terms of yards. They're season high.
Yeah, he's got a towel, so he's walking away with his towel. Then I guess he's trying to say somebody took a towel or something. I don't know. And that could have been conceived as like a punch almost, but clear takedown going to cost him 15 yards. And now if you're Coastal Carolina, take advantage of another ECU penalty. Try and get some points on the board before the half.
8 penalties for 100 yards in the first half, Jay. And now you take a look at Jeremy Lewis, your defensive leader, go to the sideline after that unnecessary interaction you heard earlier from Jalen down on the field, the chippiness that we've seen throughout the game and that she's been able to eye down on the field as well.
Long conversation there, but I mean, no matter what they say to you, unless a guy, we always see it, second person gets caught. Something obviously upset him a lot to make him react that way, but you can't do that. You can't do that to your team.
During the dead ball period, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 11, East Carolina. That is his first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. The clock will start on the snap.
So now Coastal marches into ECU territory after ripping away and taking down a player. Jeremy Lewis goes to the sideline, and the Chanticleers have the ball with just over a minute to go and a fresh set of downs.
Something about that towel. There was something about that towel that upset him.
Rolling, and still able to escape and make positive yardage out of it after Emmanuel Hickman was chasing Guest down.
I'd help Guest out right now in this situation. I'm not calling the vertical passing game. That's his strength. He likes to push the ball down the field. I'm calling some underneath, short, dink and dunk routes, 4 or 5 yard routes, just so we can try and get this field goal before the half. And one thing about Guest, 1 touchdown on the year, 4 interceptions. Had a game earlier this season where he threw a pick 6 versus Georgia State, which put Georgia State right back in the game. See, those are throws. I'm not calling those plays right now. I'm gonna try a screen. I'm gonna try something short where I can get the ball to some of my runners in space. Just try to. You got to come away with the points this half to gain some momentum going into the locker room.
Well, Guest has also been called into action. You think back to that game against App State, which was really important for the Chants to take control in the East Division. They were able to eke out a win. Guest comes in for the starting QB. And Guest now on 3rd and 5, feeling the pressure and not able to escape it. Brought down by Taylor Jackson. And with a full complement of timeouts, Mike Houston spends his first of the first half.
And just miscommunication. You have to know who's hot. Guy coming right up the middle, you have to avoid him and somewhere get rid of the football. Taylor Jackson's a linebacker coming on a blitz. Hot read, responsibility of the quarterback.
Well, defensive coordinator Blake Harrell dialed up that blitz, and nearly untouched Taylor Jackson brings down Guest. A loss of 12 and 48 seconds remaining in the first half, and ECU looking to get the ball back. And if you're just tuning in, Grayson McCall out this quarter, questionable to return as the 3-time Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year is out. He helped to bring Coastal back into this ball game after ECU scored the first 10 points. Flag comes out on the punt as it's down inside the 5.
Illegal formation, number 13, kicking team is not lined up on the line of scrimmage. It's a 5-yard penalty, replay 4th down.
So try it again, but a number of penalties we've seen through the first 2 quarters, Jay.
Yeah, plays got a little bit sloppy at times, kind of overshadowing some great quarterback play by both teams. Coastal Carolina just cannot get out of their own way right now. Had an excellent punt, pinning them inside the 5-yard line. Of course, East Carolina's going to take the penalty and try and set up some type of return.
The true freshman, Evan Crenshaw, will try it again. And this one down and fair caught at the 15-yard line.
This is going to sound a little different. We'll see how aggressive they are, but with 35 seconds left and some timeouts and a Coastal defense that's kind of reeling right now, stopping the pass, I wonder how aggressive Coach Houston's going to tell Donnie Kirkpatrick, the offensive coordinator, to be with his play selection right now.
Well, remember, ECU received the ball first to open the ball game, so Coastal will get the ball back. So we'll see if they still try to walk it down the field, as Ehlers, who's been great tonight, 17 of 21, 213 yards, and they give it to Keaton Mitchell. They keep it on the ground, and he is stopped. Griffin is there to wrap him up first, Jaquan Griffin, and now they may be just content given the field position, the worst for either team, to take it into the locker room.
Yeah, first play, running play to Mitchell. See, if he would have broke it, they might have got it stolen, but since he didn't, they're content taking to the halftime with this 10-point lead.
Ehlers puts it up in the air. The pass incomplete, so 4 seconds to go. Holton Ehlers, the veteran quarterback for the Pirates, who's helped to captain this team, came back for his 5th and final season. And what a difference maker he's been. Mitchell, final play of the first half, and East Carolina content to go into the locker room with a 24-14 lead over Coastal Carolina. So the battle of the Carolinas, and after 2, it's in favor from the group out of Greenville, North Carolina. Let's send it down to the field with Jalen standing by with their head coach, Mike Houston.
Coach Houston, 8 penalties for 100 yards in this first half for you guys. What are you telling your team to combat those numbers for the second half?
Well, some of it's execution. I mean, it's just some of the rust and some new guys. We just got to get that stuff corrected, okay, not beat ourselves. That's a big thing, because we're doing a good job moving the football, but we're putting ourselves in long yardage situations with those penalties.
Up until these last couple drives, really back and forth game, what's going to be your message to the team for you guys to pull away in the second half?
Well, we'll stick to the plan. We came here to play football. We don't want to get into all the extracurricular stuff. If they want to do that, let them do it, okay? We need to play football. Stick to doing what we do. That's it.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thanks a lot.
So for more, let's send it to the studio with Matt Berry. What's up, dude?
Great first half.
Welcome back to Capital One Bowl Mania.
Welcome back to the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl here as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania. 24-14 ball game in favor of East Carolina after 2 quarters. As we take a look at our first half stats, brought to you by Dollar General. And when you look at it, lopsided in favor of the Pirates. You see 142 total yards for Coastal Carolina. Now compare that to the 100 yards picked up on penalties for ECU.
For East Carolina, a little bit frustrating. You see the total offense that's been there. They've been able to move the ball up and down the field, but putting themselves behind the sticks with costly penalties, particularly the 15-yard variety. But I'm going to give credit to the Pirates. They were able to separate themselves a little bit late after falling down by 4 points. They managed to put 2 scores on the board going to halftime with a 10-point lead.
And the second half is underway. Braden Bennett collects it for the Chanticleers on the return, and Bennett tripped himself up just around the 20-yard line as we send it down to the field with Jalen.
Thanks, Tiff. I got a chance to catch up with Coach Staggs at halftime. He said he went into the training room to check on Grayson McCall's status. He said that it is still questionable if he will return to this game. Jared Brown, like we said earlier, is for sure still out for the rest of the night. But he said he knows his guys are going to come back out here and fight. He said even when we change coaches, even when we've lost games, even when we had games canceled on us, we keep on fighting. And that is the culture of this team. And so he's very excited about how his guys are going to come out in the second half.
Well, thanks so much, Jalen. And It was Grayson McCall who injured himself the upper body area after scoring a touchdown, and Guest was able to get it out in time. That's Braden Bennett on the carry. But the loss of Grayson McCall was huge, as ECU saying they came up with it, but he was down. Jairo Wilson on the tackle after a pickup of 5. Jay, how does then that change things?
Second down.
I mean, you know, I'm thinking about what you can say to that team at halftime. You take a look at the play, and ooh, that ball was going down. That ball was coming out as he was going towards the ground. This is going to be a fumble. And you almost want to say, if Coach Staggs wants to tell the team, guys, you got one more fight in you. Just one more fight in you. One more half for all that you've worked. Don't go out like this in what could be our final game together.
Well, you think about how the season started. They got off to 6 straight wins. They were immediately bowl eligible after that. Then, as Jalen mentioned, that canceled game against Virginia in Charlottesville following that November 13th shooting that claimed the life of 3 Cavaliers football players. So that game gets canceled. Then you make it all the way to the Sun Belt Conference Championship game, right? You lose to Troy. The day after, your head coach takes another job as Jamie Chadwell went on to Liberty, and just a lot of change going on. But do they have the fight? And that's another review right there. And you see stripping it loose was Gerard Stringer. So Stringer was ripping it out of Braden Bennett's hand as he was going to the ground.
And they've done a good job, you know, all the distractions that you listed and all the circumstances they had to overcome. Just wonder, this last blow may have been a little bit too much. You know, the guys leaving, and you know, as much as they try to say, you know, we're a team, you feel some way if your teammate is not there to play with you. You know, you guys do off-season preparation together, you guys lift weights together, you study together, you cry together, you enjoy stuff together. When they're not there, you know, there's an emotional void that's tough. I mean, the only thing tougher is having an injured teammate not there, but you understand that situation. So it's be real interesting to see how Coach Staggs can keep this team together here in just this one half of football. You got one half of football left together, not going to be off to a good start because this is going to be a fumble. And they're going to lose possession. And these wheels could fall off really quickly, or they can find a rallying cry.
After further review, the ball came loose prior to the ball carrier being down. In the immediate continuing action, number 5 for East Carolina recovered the ball. It's first down, East Carolina at the 27-yard line.
So Jairo Wilson comes up with it. One play, one review to start this third quarter. And the ball falls into the hands of East Carolina. So now the Pirates, who took a lead going into the locker room, finding themselves once more in Coastal Carolina territory. Holton Ahlers, who was 17 of 22 in that first half, 217 yards, and Keaton Mitchell doing it out of the backfield. We already picked up 100 yards on the ground. Say, let's toss it out to him.
And how about this? ECU's run 37 plays in this game. 27 of them have come in Coastal Carolina territory. Taking advantage of great field position. And yet again, Coastal can't get out of its way. And there's a Pirate offense that smells some blood in the water.
The hometown product, Holton Ahlers, trying to help his Pirates punch it in once more. The handoff to Keaton Mitchell. Mitchell stopped and tackled after a gain of 2. So into the red zone, but you think about Keaton Mitchell and what he's done this season, right? 7 consecutive 100-yard rushing games on the ground for the Pirates. We saw a little bit of his dynamite and breakaway speed there in the first half.
Got him.
Got him right there. Over to C.J. Johnson, back to Holton Ahlers trying to get in, just short of the end zone.
You got guys that are playing defense that aren't used to being in there, getting their most playing time of the season. They're going to bite. We've seen double moves. We've seen some razzle-dazzle plays, some misdirection, and there the quarterback, Ayler, is able to sneak out of the backfield wide open and almost gets his ball across the goal line.
The effort, but how about the pass from C.J. Johnson? They've just been playing a little pitch and catch. It's been primarily Aylers to Johnson, trying to bounce off tackles, and good one wrapping up and brought down by Mr. Bruce, Shane Bruce, that is. Loss of 3, 2nd and goal on upcoming.
And one of the few times we've seen Keaton Mitchell make a mistake, when it's not there on the 1 yard line, you don't try to bounce it outside unless you're 100% certain. Can't jeopardize getting negative plays inside the 5 yard line.
So we've seen Donnie Kirkpatrick get creative with his play calls early in each of the both starting quarter and here in this 3rd quarter. And Holton Aylers stops short. Bruce once more on the stop along with J.T. Killen.
Let's go back to what Jalen said, the halftime speech. Do you have one more fight left in you, fellas? You're telling the defense right now, can this Black Swarm defense of Coastal Carolina make one more stop? Hold this to just a field goal attempt after having 1st and goal from the 1 yard line. Let's see what they can dial up.
Aylers back to pass, looking in, flicks it in, and a touchdown into the hands of Jalen Johnson, who holds on to it after getting popped. So converting on the turnover, and ECU punching it into the end zone. Once again, 3rd passing touchdown of the night for Mr. Aylers.
And as you mentioned, the key thing, Jalen Johnson able to hold on to this football, going full speed across the coverage as Charles Arnold came up, number 38 White, and put a nice lick on him, but not able to dislodge the football. Touchdown ECU.
4th receiving touchdown of the season for the junior out of Duluth, Georgia. Conrad on for the extra point. It's up, and it is through. So ECU trying to pick up their first bowl win since 2013. They're well on their way up big over Coastal. Let's take a look at tonight's Smart Plays, brought to you by Ticket Smarter.
Talk about, hey, knowing where you are on the football field, balls on the ground, even though you don't hear the whistle, you play through it, and then you outsmart the defense by going misdirection, reverse pass to the quarterback, and then the touchdown score. Hold on! Big hit coming. ECU in control.
21 unanswered points for the Pirates, and Holton Aylers right now all smiles. On the return here, there's Brayton Bennett. Bennett spinning off a tackler, and then finally brought down. The first meeting ever between Coastal and East Carolina in football. We've known of their interactions on the baseball diamond. Obviously, Coastal Carolina sporting a national championship back in 2016.
In East Carolina, pardon me, East Carolina, one of those mid-major programs that's been on the rise recently in baseball, cracking the top 25 a couple times. The job that the Chanticleer baseball team did, nobody thought a mid-major on the East Coast could win a chip. And they won it all.
Well, you just think about the progression of this football program. Just the 20th season of football for Coastal Carolina, their 3rd straight bowl appearance after missing their first 3 years as a full-time FBS member, and the job that the former head coach Jamie Chadwell did in getting them to bowl games, winning one last year in that Cure Bowl a season ago, back-to-back 11-win seasons.
You got to mention, nice run here on the edge.
That's Reese White. Reese White, who's done an amazing job on that run, a pickup of 27 yards. So perhaps that gives them a little lift or boost here for the Sharks.
Yeah, a little spark for them. Miles Berry took a pretty poor angle going inside, not having leverage, and White made him pay with speed to the perimeter. And just to finish up on that Coastal Carolina, you always, for me, I think Coastal Carolina football, I think Joe Mowgli. And Joe Mowgli is a guy that really built this program, invested in this program, realized it could be a diamond in the rough. He picked Chadwell to be his successor and had something to do with the new coach, Tim Beck, coming along as well.
Taking a shot, Jared Guest got him into the end zone. There's Tyler Roberts for the score. So the nice spark you saw on the run from White, a little oh yeah from Tyler Roberts after that touchdown catch.
Yeah, with a little bit of wiggle at the end of it on the celebration. What a good job by Jared Guest. Throws this ball up, and you'll see just a full head of steam. Tyler Roberts, like a freight train, blows by Malik Fleming, untouched. That's poor coverage in the secondary by Fleming. You have to reroute a 6'4" guy that's striding by you at some point. And Guest put it on the M-O-N-E-Y, money.
So coming out and scoring, and the celebration still continuing on the Coastal sideline. That's the sign of life Chad Staggs wants to see.
The Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl is brought to you by Dollar General. Save time, save money every day.
Good vibes as we keep it popping here from Birmingham. A 10-point ball game as Coastal Carolina inching their way back into this one. Liam Gray on the kickoff. Here's Keaton Mitchell on the return. Keaton Mitchell, who's got some breakaway speed across the 30, 40, still going. Keaton Mitchell, and he's finally brought down out of bounds. So Keaton Mitchell, 56-yard kickoff return, setting up great field possession.
And the night of auditions, and Keaton Mitchell showing you he's more than just a running back and a threat out of the backfield. On special teams, great job setting up his blockers. And look at the speed. Turning on the jets. Keaton Mitchell can fly.
Can do it all. A dynamic running back. We've seen some of that today. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He gets a break for a second, and Mr. Edmonds comes on to the field. Kamaro Edmonds standing alongside Ehlers. The handoff and nowhere to go, and that was quickly snuffed out by the Chanticleers defense.
And they've won a couple battles on first down, but take advantage of it now. This game down by 10. Defense, step up, make a play right now. Try and stop them to a 3-and-out right now, which would be huge. Can the secondary hold up? And that's what it comes down to. We know that East Carolina's going to take advantage of the backups in there in the secondary. Who can make a play defensively?
Ehlers intercepted nearly. Oh! A prime opportunity for Tobias Fletcher, and he drops it. And the Coastal fans wish they could have that one back.
This is the opportunity to make a big play. I mean, this is it. You're rolling coverage that way. One of the few times that we see Ehlers misread the coverage, and Tobias Fletcher missed a huge opportunity that his defense desperately needed.
You asked the question, who was willing to step up now with third down on the way? A timeout taken on the field by East Carolina.
30 seconds in late.
When you think about the season that Holton Ehlers and this East Carolina team has put together, 7-5 on the year, and when we talked with head coach Mike Houston, he said this is a season of almost, right? 3 kicks away from a 10-win season. They outplayed NC State, but had a heartbreaking loss there. Then Navy losing in double overtime, another gut-wrenching loss for them. But then they were able to turn things around in that win in 4 overtimes over Memphis, who won earlier today.
And I got to tease Coach a little bit. You know the way the ball bounces. If you say, okay, you're a couple wins away from 10 wins, but you're also an overtime away from losing to Memphis and a good win at BYU, which was quality. But at the end, this team kept fighting and got themselves bowl eligible and lead this bowl game.
The pass complete to Winstead, making a move on the defender and stopped short of the marker, gain of 9, so that'll bring up 4th down. Joshua Madison making the tackle. Holton Ahlers standing steady right there to go for it.
Yeah, and the crossing route, good job here of making the first tackler miss, changing directions. Just don't see that from guys that are long and lanky with the ability to stop on a dime and cut upfield.
The Pirates 1 for 2 on 4th downs tonight.
Looks like they're going to blitz him a few times tonight. Man-to-man coverage across the board. Nobody deep help in the middle.
One-on-one coverage on the outside, and the throw to C.J. Johnson, and there is the pass interference flag thrown out there at the end. Tobias Fletcher on the coverage. And C.J. Johnson is still down in the end zone. And Johnson getting some attention here again.
Yeah, and if I see what Fletcher was trying to do, but you always want to say just turn around and locate the football. They can't call that on you. But when you do that, you block or you impede the wide receiver's chance to stop and make a play on the ball. And he was not making a play on the ball. You have to be better than that. You know, Division I FBS cornerback, ball hangs in the air that long, you have to be able to locate it and not get called for that flag.
C.J. Johnson.
First down.
Wow, they picked up the flag for pass interference.
Whoa. Wow. But
Explain
again, Jay,
this one to me. I mean, are you saying it's an uncatchable ball? No, it didn't go out of bounds. It was in the field of play. And I thought they did not give him a chance. Look what his ball is. Is he making a play on the ball?
No.
Oh, come on.
No.
That's pass interference.
Yeah.
That's PI.
to your point, doesn't have his head turned around to even try to attempt to make a play. He just puts up his hands and shields the receiver.
And that's one of the rule changes they have. You don't have to turn your head around, but by him taking that action, he wasn't making a play on the ball, and he literally stopped the receiver from having the ability to come back and catch the ball. Hey, to me, that's pass interference all day long. He wasn't making a play on the ball, doing it, but let's see if Coastal Carolina can take advantage of the situation.
Second forced turnover of downs for the defense, and the pass complete to Pinckney, and Pinckney into Pirate territory, a 24-yard pass and catch.
Starting to see Coastal Carolina starting to find a little groove right now. Guess hit the touchdown, last possession out. Now goes to Sam Pinckney, who's been the leading receiver for Coastal Carolina all season long as they cross midfield.
Showing blitz, they hand it off. That's C.J. Beasley, and Beasley, who's tripped up by Pre-Washington. No correction. Demel Hickman.
I think you'll see that play again. That could have broke for more yardage there. There was a downfield block that was missed by the wide receiver on that second level, but good job winning the matchup by Antoine Loper on the right side.
Second and 5. Guess, play action. Escapes, scrambles out, and not for much as Miles Berry stops him. Well, he's just one of those core guys on defense. Miles Berry, also one of the captains for ECU.
Two-down territory here. If you don't come up with a negative play, I believe they'll go for it on 4th down. That being said, you don't need to pick it all up here. You just need a positive yardage play.
The line to gain the 39-yard line of ECU. Coming in to make the tackle again was Hickman. Hickman, who spied the quarterback the entire time from his cornerback position. And a flag comes out toward the end of the play.
Is this on East Carolina? The least penalized team in the country. You're going to keep the drive alive.
After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 99, East Carolina. That is his first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
We have seen a handful of unsportsmanlike penalties called against ECU tonight. So after the great play made by Hickman.
Yeah, J.D. Lampin, the freshman, is called for a penalty after the play was over with. And, you know, Coach Houston said he doesn't want his team at halftime. We can't get caught up in all the antics. Let's just play football. He thinks he has a better football team, but we've seen him time and time again get caught up in the antics and unsportsmanlike penalties.
Oh, the blitz, and Stringer strips it loose, and he's able to recover it. What a play by Gerard Stringer.
I think they missed Grayson McCall. I mean, that's one where that doesn't happen. The speed of the game, Stringer gets a running start. You have to make a move on him early, and this is just a great individual effort. The strip, sack, recovery, the trifecta.
Tip your hat to Gerard Stringer for that play. They hand the ball right back over as East Carolina +9 in turnover margin, one of the best in the country. But to your point, Jay, I mean, that's kind of the thing that you go back to. Grayson McCall, injured back in that first half on that touchdown run, opted to come back and play after entering the portal with his team. And now ECU looking to take advantage of that turnover.
And that was a big one. It really was, because Coastal had a little momentum. They took advantage of the penalty, and then they put the ball on the turf, and now that defense is on the field once again against a red-hot quarterback in Holden Ahlers.
Ahlers 20 of 27, 234 yards and 3 touchdowns. And how about Holden Ahlers? He's got plenty of real estate up ahead of him, lowering his shoulder in the process. That's a football player right there, folks.
Pulling out all the stops in his last game as a quarterback for the Pirates. Fools the whole defense. Great job on the fake. And look at this, looking for some contact. No, I'm not going down. I want every yard. Give me mine.
For more on Ahlers, let's send it down to Jalen.
Tiff, earlier this week when I talked to Holton about what he wanted his legacy to be, he said, I want to be known as a guy who leaves every single part of me on the field, and he just did that on that play.
No doubt, Jalen. I mean, you just think about the effort that you saw from your quarterback in welcoming contact, but more importantly, his legacy is already cemented. Not only at ECU owning several records, just about all, but also in the American Athletic Conference.
And Coach Houston, what did he say? My most valuable recruit was my first recruit. The moment he was able to recruit Ahlers to stay home, stay in that Greenville, North Carolina area, and grow with the program, he's seen the lumps, he's seen the good and the bad. And
pass incomplete to Jalen Johnson. Jacob Prosch on the coverage along with
Pass
Tobias
interference,
Fletcher.
number 23, defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And Proche whistled for the penalty. Proche, excuse me.
And you see that there, just, Dick Cott turns around, and even with double coverage, almost able to throw that ball in there. And that just lets you know the struggles they have when you have Fletcher, backup safety, and Proche, a backup cornerback in there. You got Jalen Johnson, who's having a really good football game, almost able to make another big play.
Again, Proche in there. Lance Boykin opted out, the captain on defense and of that secondary. He, along with Jordan Strong and Josiah Stewart, not on the field for this defense for the Chanticleers.
We'll say this, it's not been easy for East Carolina to run the football down in the red zone, and that's a big reason why. Gerard Clark, stuff in the middle, so they've had to come up with creative ways to get the ball in the end zone. But if you try and run up there, like Clark say, if you try to run it at me, you're gonna have a problem.
Run into a wall if you come my way. Holton Ahlers, and it's incomplete to Winstead. Winstead, who's already caught 2 touchdowns tonight. And now 3rd and goal. And so if you're Donnie Kirkpatrick, what do you dial up for this offense from the 5?
Yep, they've been able to run the ball off tackle a little bit, which they've had some success. You can't run up the middle. You run off tackle a little bit, but then you've got these big wide receivers. You have to figure out who gets a matchup on the guy with the least experience and go one-on-one.
Well, there's that handoff, and right there, that shuttle pass stops short.
Short, though. Nice play call. I love the deception there, but a good tackle at the goal line is going to make it decision time for ECU.
After the ball comes, it's 4th down.
Good look there. He's got momentum, but that's just a great textbook tackle by Shane Bruce from his linebacker position. Now watch this, Tiff. Coming right at you. Watch him wrap and get the legs. If you take the legs, he can't get the forward lean.
4th and goal. Stopped the last time they tried it on 4th down. They go with Ahlers, and Ahlers is in. Lunging forward for the touchdown, and Holton Ahlers giving it his all, as Jalen said, in his final game in an ECU uniform. Little gritty action afterwards, Jay Walker.
Well, he knew he couldn't run up in the middle. Middle's going to be tough. So he waited, had patience, and then slid to the outside before Tobias Fletcher could come up from his safety position.
Holton Ahlers getting it done. And East Carolina stretching the lead back out, nearly 3 minutes taken off the clock, capped off by this run from Holton Ahlers, and uh-oh, I need a little gritty in my life. Up next, we'll cap off our bowl quadruple header with Wisconsin and Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. You can always watch it on the ESPN app from anywhere. Big 10 meets Big 12. Chase Field, the home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Here, East Carolina scoring 14 points in this 3rd quarter, all off of Coastal Carolina turnovers. Back in action, that's Bennett. As we send it down to the field with Jalen Johnson.
We've been talking a lot about Holton Ahlers and the year that he has had, the best season yet, and I asked him what was the difference, and he said, I went to the Manning Passing Academy this summer. I got to spend some time with some of the best quarterbacks that are currently playing. There was former Kentucky quarterback Will Levis, Spencer Rattler that's at South Carolina was there. And Holton said, it changed my outlook on the game. My mental aspect has changed, and I look at how to approach the game better now, not looking too big and working on the little things.
Absolutely. I mean, so many times people think the quarterback position is just about completion percentage and touchdown interception ratio, but it's about being a leader on and off the field, your approach to the game, and nobody's getting better.
Distance to the goal, automatic first down. This is number one's first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game.
And you can make the argument nobody's had a better approach to the game of football, the quarterback position, than them Louisiana boys. You know what them Louisiana boys are?
Go ahead, hit me with it.
Peyton and Eli from New Orleans. So their approach to the game was different. Grew up as a quarterback, son of a QB legend and Archie Manning, and he kept it going. I always like to give a shout out to Cooper. People forget Cooper was a really good quarterback too, and then he moved to wide receiver.
So he just bucked the tradition.
Well, he was first.
He was first, but then he was like, nah, I'm going to do something a little different, I think. Archie Manning going to Texas.
Arch.
Yeah, Arch Manning, excuse me.
Big sign for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns.
False start, number 57, offense. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
And right now, if you're Coastal, you have to be really careful here. Back-to-back penalties. We've seen Will Lampkin be a little off his game tonight. His third penalty of the night. And I keep going back to what Jalen said. You've mentioned it too about Chad Staggs. What do we have left in us? Where's that last push, that last fight, that last oomph? That's needed. Down by 2 scores. Reese White on the carry, wrapped up and brought down by Revel. And even when we talked with Staggs coming in to the game, we said, okay, well, hey, what will your message be given all that's, taken place recently? He said, hey, look, reminding the guys that, you have to prepare to win a bowl game, right? Just like you remember that feeling from last year, you want it again, and then B, go out there and have fun. And C.J. Beasley is brought down by a number of Pirate defenders. So Chad Staggs, the interim head coach, but on the same day that he was named the interim, a new head coach was named for Coastal Carolina, and Tim Beck, and we had an opportunity to talk to him before the game. And he's ready to take over this program, who he calls a dream-type program situation for him. Pinckney makes the catch, but it's out of bounds.
Force a punt right now, and these guys fought, and there's a lot of football left to be played there, but I think going into halftime, you kind of knew if Coastal couldn't come out and jump on ECU early in the second half, that it could make for a long second half.
And there's a good look there at Tim Beck, named the 4th head coach of this Coastal Carolina program. Longtime offensive coordinator, last 3 seasons spent as the OC at NC State. A wealth of coaching experience, and he says, hey, look, I've just been trying to get to know the players and meet them all. That's been my job here in the month of December. Our upcoming featured ESPN football lineup. Michigan taking on TCU, and then another heavyweight matchup between Georgia squaring off against Ohio State in the college football playoff semifinals Saturday. Penn State and Utah face off in the granddaddy of them all Monday. Don't forget about that one. And of course, the Bills battle the Bengals in a big Monday Night Football matchup. That's also on ABC, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes. Look, just check out our ESPN networks in addition to the app in your cover. We had a great conversation with Tim Beck And his first order of business is going to try to lure Grayson McCall to stay with Coastal.
He said, you know, he's talked to all the players and he knows about 80% of the team right now, trying to meet them all. I thought it was fitting where, did you notice as we were talking to him, Jared Brown came up to him, hey coach, how's it going, Brown, Sun Belt Freshman of the Year, let them know, hey, you're my coach. So that makes me think that Tim Beck's doing something right down there to have players embrace him, and he's done a good job of staying out the way. He wants them to focus on this game.
Mitchell on the carry, brought down by Emmanuel Johnson. And just to finish off that point, he said, look, this is a game where I'm kind of like getting ready. I'm right there alongside everybody, but I don't quite know what to do because I'm not actually coaching in this one. I'm just trying to help and be of assistance wherever I can.
I don't think he knew where to stand on the sideline where he was supposed to be.
And the flag comes out as we were nearing the close of the third quarter.
Offside, number 3, defense in the neutral zone at the snap. The 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
So the Georgia Tech transfer, Jaquan Griffin, whistled for the penalty.
One will be extended for one untimed down.
I wonder how close was he? He must have been blatantly over. You know, 17-point game, they're normally not calling that unless you're completely over the line of scrimmage. And good look at Coach Staggs. Reiterate again the job that they said he's done, keeping this squad together just to make it down here, to come here and have a chance to compete in this bowl game.
And the handoff to Keaton Mitchell. And that will take us to the end of the third quarter. What a quarter it was for ECU, capitalizing off of turnovers and stretching out their lead after 3. Welcome back to the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl here as a part of Capital One Bowl Mania in the Magic City, and it's no quarter time for the Pirates. That means no pity or mercy on your enemies. 14 points put up in the third quarter, and now ECU 15 minutes away from their first bowl victory in 9 years. Keaton Mitchell with a solid run.
And important now for ECU to do what Coach talked about at halftime. Coach Houston, don't get caught up with all the extracurricular activities. Coastal Carolina, frustrated bunch. They're going to try and, you know, instigate some trash talk, some penalties. If you're ECU, just focus on the task at hand, run the play, and tell them, look at the scoreboard and keep moving.
The toss to Mitchell. Little stutter step delay, still going. And down near the 2-yard line and a fresh set of downs. And the flag coming out. We already saw one just at the end of the quarter. A personal foul called against Coastal.
Holding, number 73, offense. 10-yard penalty, second down.
That's from their best guy up front, Rashad Strother, along that offensive line, the left guard for the Pirates.
I mean, good job on the pull. And football spun him around a little bit. Tough call there. This makes the job a little bit harder for the Pirates. And I don't know if you do Coastal any favors calling those penalties, moving them back, because now the way they've been throwing the football, East Carolina's like, now we have more room to pick apart the secondary.
Ahlers, who's been terrific tonight, finds a wide open man, and that's C.J. Johnson for the 11-yard touchdown catch.
More room to pick apart the secondary. secondary that's beat up and stuck with a number of reserves or backups in the game. Forced to play, you allow C.J. Johnson, clean release, middle of the field, open. Just don't miss it. Easy throw from Ahlers to Johnson.
First receiving touchdown of the night for C.J. Johnson. Meanwhile, Holton Ahlers continuing a fantastic night. 23 of 32. And this, his 4th passing touchdown of the night. We keep on bowling tomorrow with 3 more games on ESPN. UCF squares off against Duke in the Military Bowl presented by Peraton. It's our first game at 2. Then Kansas facing off against Arkansas in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, followed by Texas Tech and Ole Miss in the TaxAct Texas Bowl. Another great day of bowl games on the way. And again, don't forget, one more here tonight, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl between Wisconsin and Oklahoma State.
Say that TaxAct Bowl 3 times fast.
TaxAct Bowl, TaxAct Texas Bowl, TaxAct.
All right, let's go back and take a look at that touchdown. How's the guy get to what? We talk about the secondary having struggles. We'll take a look here, number 13. This is Joshua Madden. He's the free safety. His job, nothing gets behind you, but miscommunication. He comes down, gets caught in the wash. It's a pass off. You're the free safety. You got to be deep. Nobody deep. Miscommunication, blown coverage, whatever you want to call it. But you can't let a guy go that free into the end zone. Communication's the key.
You see Holton Ahlers' throwing hand getting worked on as Coastal Carolina runs it with Reese White on first down. Nice play by Jeremy Lewis. Jay Walker, Tiffany Green along with Jalen Johnson down on the sideline. This ball game was 24-14 at the half. East Carolina, but 2 fumbles in the 3rd quarter by the Chanticleers allowed the Pirates to put up 14 more points in the 3rd. And then coming off that score, it's now 45-21 in favor of the group of the American Athletic Conference. Reese White making something happen on the catch of the yards after catch, and he picks up the first down.
This is the evaluation period. Coach in waiting, call him coach in waiting, Tim Beck on the sideline watching Coastal Carolina. If you're a young player out there right now, you want to go out there and make an impact and show coach that you can play and move up the depth chart a little bit for spring football.
First and 10, the handoff, and a nice little gap there for Reese White on the carry on first down as we send it down to Jalen for more on Coach Beck.
You guys, Coach Beck told me earlier that the first time he knew that Coastal Carolina was a special place was back in 2017 when his daughter Haley was on campus to take her volleyball visit. That's where she played volleyball in college. And he said, I just knew it was a diamond in the rough. He said, everything about the campus, I just loved it. So I kind of just kept my eye open. He said, you know, I had my feet planted where I was at NC State, but when I got a chance to come back here and got the opportunity presented to me, I was really excited about it. And he's really excited to come down here and get these guys going. But he said, like we talked about earlier, the main thing for this week was coming in, getting to know the guys. He's done a lot of recruiting, but he told us earlier he doesn't really know what to do. He's prepping to get ready for a game, but he's not coaching, so he's kind of standing on the sideline and just saying that everybody's way.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jalen. And we were talking about that, right? So that is kind of an awkward position to be in, because he's just like, well, I'm used to getting ready for games, but not here. But what do you think he's evaluating with his eyes? What do you feel like he's seeing, especially coming from an offensive side of the ball?
The speed. You know, he's coming from NC State to the ACC. Wants to know what's the speed like at Coastal. Does he have a guy that can stretch the field? Who's the radius guy? Who's got strong hands? Who's a good downfield blocker? When you're on the sideline, you can see a lot of those things. You have to go back on game day and evaluate tape. Who's winning their one-on-one blocks in those matchups? And, you know, sometimes you'll see a guy averaging 8 yards a catch, but he's catching the ball 2 yards and running 6 yards. He's got that wiggle, hard to bring down. So, but I think at this point, with the game going the way it's going right now, he's looking for character. Who's going to fight? Who's a guy that you can have when things aren't going your way that's still going to give you 100% effort?
White remains in the ball game. Play action. Jarrett Guess has a man. That's Pinckney along the sideline. And the catch is hauled in by the old man Sam. 34-yard pickup.
Good job of getting the ball down the field. But this is when we're, give me just a little bit more accurate throw, and he's running to the end zone. See, that's the difference in the starters and the backup. The timing's off a little bit. Guess just trying to get it out there. If that was McCall, he's trying to hurt you for a home run.
If you're just tuning in, Grayson McCall went down with an injury back in the first half, and so Jarrett Guess has come on to try to lead the Chanticleers here in the second half, and he's brought down. Big sack made there by Chandre Mills. The transfer from Charleston Southern, who's been a nice addition here, a loss of 9.
Yeah, not fooled at all by the old flea flicker. And the running back, you have to sell it. That's a quick pitch. If you're not getting rid of that ball quickly, and you're in trouble, great job by Mims.
Backs him up now, 2nd and 19. 4th ECU sack of the night. Minimal gain for White there. So when you're looking to the bright spots, as Coach Staggs, as the interim head coach, he's looking on and seeing some things. The next coach, Tim Beck, is seeing some things. What have you seen, Jay?
Their uniqueness is their offense. You know, you don't see many offenses. We've heard coaches try to describe it. It's Navy from shotgun. It's option with passing. It's run, pass first. So these are some guys that know how to put points on the board, and they know how to win. And that's the key. A lot of these guys expect to win. Hit on the side.
And a blow there as Stringer saw Guess going towards the sideline, but didn't give himself up, and then he finished off the play.
And that's why they tell you get down. Get down when guys are coming, they've got to beat on you. But, I mean, the future is still so very bright at Coastal Carolina. I mean, a program that's growing, one of the fastest growing programs in the country. You see Stringer with another hit, playing a really good second half. But the location's the key. You know, you can still recruit to Coastal Carolina. Now it's still an up-and-coming program with a high ceiling, and you can see why Tim Beck jumped at the opportunity to be the head coach.
So yeah, I want to welcome you to the beach. 4th and 13 right here for Coastal. And the pass is incomplete to Tyler Roberts. And a turnover on downs, 9:08 remaining. Guess limping off onto the field, off the field rather. And East Carolina will have the ball when you come back.
The Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl is brought to you by Ticket Smarter. Experience the power and excitement of live events with Ticket Smarter. Think smart, think Ticket Smarter. And TaxAct. File for less and get more.
I always appreciate the just dedication. That's what I have to call it, because it's below 40 here.
That makes no sense to me, though. Like, when I played, I would have pads on and look at people in the stands with no shirt on. Like, are you crazy?
Meanwhile, Grayson McCall, who was done for the night in the first half after getting injured, landed awkwardly on his head and neck. Without him, and nice play and break up there by Matthew McDoom. But you think about just all that's probably running through this young man's head, having a fantastic season, winning the Conference Player of the Year again, deciding to enter the portal last week, says I'm gonna play and finish out the season with my team, and then unfortunately gets injured here.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You can't say enough about him. And the decision to enter the portal You know, people would say, I was wondering, why did he enter the portal if he's going to play in this game? But there were too many distractions. You know, people were asking him, are you going to the portal? Are you getting ready for the NFL draft? Is this going to be your last game? So he elected to enter the portal and say, yes, I'm in the portal. Let's deal with that. And then I'll make my choice afterwards. And some unique things he did was he entered the portal, but he didn't go visit schools. He said, if a school wants to come talk to me, they can come on campus, come down to Conway, South Carolina, and I'll talk to them. But I'm getting ready for this bowl game. I can't leave my team out there. A lot for a young man to deal with. Life-changing decisions that he's got to come up with. Just a young man.
Meanwhile, the other star quarterback on the other side, Holton Ahlers, facing 3rd and 12. The blitz off the edge and the pass incomplete as C.J. Johnson was held up by Mason Shelton.
Yeah, he was all over him there. An easy call. I was wondering what took so long on that penalty marker there.
Pass interference, number 45. Defense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. It's an automatic first down.
You see how Ahlers just stepped up. They brought the blitz, the pressure. A lot of young quarterbacks would panic, try to run. He just took 2 steps up in the pocket, delivered a throw, got a penalty. Nice pocket presence of a young man from Greenville, North Carolina.
And we anticipated seeing a great quarterback duel in this one. Obviously, the night cut short for McCall. Holton Ahlers has put on a nice show tonight as he targets C.J. Johnson. Again, it's incomplete.
And now we're seeing consecutive blitzes by Chad Staggs. Having a little bit of success, but when you blitz, the only problem is when you blitz, you're playing man-to-man coverage. So not only do you have to cover, but you have to make the tackle if the ball's caught. But I think he's seen enough of allowing Ahlers to get comfortable in the pocket and just pick apart his defense.
Ahlers came into this ball game more than 3,400 yards through the air. And Keaton Mitchell trying to find a little space and brought down by Adrian Hope. Adrian Hope, the super senior out of California, Florida.
California?
I meant to say Ocala, Florida.
Combination of Ocala and Florida. California, okay. They got some ball players out there.
Right, look.
Combine the East and the West.
I know. And I'm from Florida, too.
And I'm from California, so, okay.
See the night, and the number is for Keaton Mitchell. A 3rd and 11 line to gain the 35-yard line. And Ahlers going for Winstead, try to get that back shoulder, and it's incomplete.
Yeah, misread the coverage there. He thought he had one-on-one, but it was actually a high look with somebody buzzing underneath. One of the few miscues we've seen from Holton Ahlers tonight. Coach Mike Houston. Almost wondered that going to be the end of his night as well, because they've got a backup quarterback who they rave about, and Mason Garcia, who they think could be a pro prospect. He'll be the future quarterback of this program.
First punt of the night for the Pirates. Luke Larson out of Australia. Here to boot it away.
Look out.
And that's blocked. Great special teams play made, and coming in and charging in quickly for the Chanticleers was Jamison Tucker. And that's the heart, the energy, and the effort that the future coaching staff wants to see out of the Chants.
Coming up next, Wisconsin and Oklahoma State. Braylon Allen, the remarkable young running back, just under 7 minutes. We may start that game on ESPN2. We'll keep you posted here in studio.
Thanks so much. Back here in Birmingham, new quarterback in for Coastal Carolina, Bryce Archie, the true freshman out of the Atlanta area, now taking snaps. Just 0 for 2 on the season through the air, so they keep it on the ground with C.J. Beasley. And a nice run of about a handful for Beasley.
Archie, true freshman, nice size, has the ability to do those dual threat type things that Grayson McCall does, can run. Comes from a really good program, McEachern High School, as you mentioned, out of that Atlanta area.
Chose Coastal Carolina over Michigan, Pitt, and UCF. We saw Jarrett Guest come in for Grayson McCall. And Guest went off the last possession. Gimping had his man, Mobley, but Tyson Mobley. This is the potential future.
Yeah. And this is another one of those auditions. We talk about this is the game of auditions. A lot of people auditioning. If you're Bryce Archie right now, you get an opportunity to play in front of Coach Beck. Nobody scripted it that it was going to be this way. But if you have the opportunity, I'm sure he wants to see. I'm sure Coach Beck is really paying attention. Let's see what this Archie kid can do in the game.
Never know when your number's going to be called, but you take advantage of the opportunity. And right now, Bryce Archie was popped really hard there by Chad Stevens, but he picks up the first down.
Showed some wiggle.
Yeah, he did.
He had some moves there. Those were some bodies coming in there hot and heavy. Able to escape the pocket. Got hit. Welcome to college football. But you'll see them watch this, set him up, make him miss. Made Miles Berry miss. Took a good lick. But as you said, got the first down.
So Jaira Wilson coming in to lay that extra pop on him, and he's down on the field getting some attention right now. The North Carolina native. And so first and goal for Coastal Carolina with a third-string quarterback, Bryce Archie, in the ball game.
Good to see him get up and a little pep to his step as he walks towards the sideline. That's college football. That's what it's all about. If you're Bryce Archie, you never know. You're coming to this game, you're the third guy on the roster. Don't know if you're going to play. Then you get in and get to throw a pass. You got to have a run, do a handoff. Mom and Dad are recording this right now, and he will play it all off season. See if he can finish up with a scoring drive.
More importantly, he's getting some tape. And the handoff there, and the thrust forward from C.J. Beasley, and a touchdown. So Coastal Carolina is able to score here in the fourth quarter.
You see the handoff, and Beasley's going to do the work from there. Good surge by that offensive line. But take a look at this, Tiff. Away from the ball. Look, you talk about getting chippy. Look.
Oh, yeah.
They took it
to
the wall.
Malik Fleming and Tyler Roberts going at it.
In a 20-something game, ball game going at it.
It's been like that all game long.
It has been.
And Coastal Carolina going for 2. 0 for 3 on the season. Bryce Archie trying to change that fortune and does so. The 2-point conversion is good.
Gets his opportunity to play in the game, and hey, mama, check me out. I'm on TV. I handed the ball off for the run, capped it off with a 2-point conversion. Bryce Archie, I see ya.
Too much time is hanging on nothing. Trying to find the fire I forgot.
Tonight's Capital One, a player of the game. It's ECU quarterback Holton Ahlers, who's had an outstanding night.
Outstanding job. Showing you how to play the quarterback position. Never got rattled. Showed you he could run the football, make great decisions with the football, stayed in control, and the key was he came out hot. That opening drive, he was throwing the football all over the field to establish that he was going to play his best game on his final game for the Pirates.
Played his high school ball at Connolly High School, elected to stay in his hometown of Greenville, North Carolina, and became the most prolific passer as they're catching everybody off guard. And we send it to the studio. What's up, fellas?
All right, so that ESPN2 game, we're starting Wisconsin. See Stormy Bonatoni there. She's the reporter for Oklahoma State, Wisconsin. Guaranteed rate bowl again. If you're a Wisconsin or Oklahoma State fan, we've kicked it off on ESPN2. We will move it over here to ESPN at the conclusion of Coastal and East Carolina.
Oh, thanks so much, Matt.
Get a cough drop, man.
No, he's staying strong. You know what? He's powering through the performance, and I appreciate that. I hope everybody at home does as well. Fourth straight possession to start in Coastal Carolina territory. Keaton Mitchell is taken down.
You know, 16-point game. Get a stop here and score quickly, and we could get interesting right now. You know, we've been saying that for a while. Coastal Carolina, the problem has been whenever they really need to have that stop to give them a chance to try and sneak back in this game, ECU has responded. They had one punt on the evening.
Yep, that's correct.
And they need to force a punt right now.
And right now, East Carolina just content letting time tick off the clock. There's Keaton Mitchell again. Mitchell, who again, another 100-yard rushing ball game for the sophomore running back. And Mitchell, who has just been spectacular this season. They say when he has a good day, we have a good day, and certainly they've had a good night here in Birmingham. So again, content to just let time wind down. 3rd and 5 from the 41. Ehlers taking a shot, going for it, has a man, puts it on the dime, and it's caught by Shane Calhoun, the tight end.
Calhoun matched up against Tobias Fletcher. Coastal asking Fletcher to cover a lot of ground from a slot position. Just a little outside fade route. Good job with the ball location. And a big fella, Calhoun, 6'3", 245-pound tight end from St. Augustine, Florida, showing you he's got some wheels too.
And again, this ECU offense has made a living in Coastal territory tonight, finding themselves with the 1st and goal, trying to bounce it outside, and Adrian Hope along with Shane Bruce making the stop behind the line of scrimmage. Well, don't forget that Saturday is the national semifinals in the college football playoff. Michigan taking on TCU at 4, then Georgia and Ohio State at 8 Eastern. Big games needs a megacast, folks, and there's many ways to watch and enjoy the games any way you want at the ESPN and Disney families, and you covered. So 7 trips to the red zone tonight for ECU. They've come away with 5 touchdowns and a field
East
goal.
Carolina takes their second charge timeout of the half.
As the Pirates spend a timeout.
So we were talking about, you know, our first Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl, the experience, part of the Gimme 5. What'd you think?
I'm going to put you on hold real quick
Sure.
and answer that question, because I got to let fans know to tune in the ESPN app for the Capital One post game immediately following the game. I've enjoyed it. I'll tell you, I've seen a lot of purple and gold in town, but the teal certainly stands out as well. You know, just 3.5 hours between these two schools, and the drive made here, or the flight perhaps, I've had fun.
I like it.
I've had fun.
Birmingham's one of the best college football towns in the country. We talk about off camera and beat me on one, considering they don't even have a school here. Like I would say Baton Rouge is a great college football town, but they got LSU.
Right, but they got UAB here.
They've got UAB in this brand new stadium, which is gorgeous.
Yes,
they did a good job at this stadium.
Yes. Ehlers going for Winstead, and he's down at the 1-yard line. I would maybe say Indianapolis, rather.
Nah.
No?
No, somebody baited you in that answer. College town, I mean, Indianapolis, I mean, that's home of the NCAA, but, you know.
Well, I mean,
Indiana and the Hoosiers a little bit, but that's, you know, out there a little bit. Nah.
What about, well, Philly's just a great sports town.
Sports town, but this college.
The
It's
college.
Like here, college sports
I mean,
is big.
they have a number of
College sports is big here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's huge.
Well, the SEC is here. The
gotta
SWAC
pick-
office is here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, the
3rd and goal, lofts it up, and that's the 5th passing touchdown of the night for Holton Ahlers, a new Birmingham Bowl record. Shane Calhoun targeted twice and hauling in that one. 2nd touchdown of the season for the sophomore tight end.
And once again, using that matchup against Tobias Fletcher. Calhoun won it on 2 plays during this drive. Just look at the quarterback. He knows where he's going with the football. I want that matchup, that one-on-one, taking advantage of the secondary. Good job of shielding Fletcher away from the ball by Calhoun as well.
And continuing to pour on the points. 51 already scored, a Birmingham Bowl record, breaking that previously from South Florida back in 2016. And now going for the 2-point conversion, and they convert. So the Pirates just making it rain here in Birmingham. 53 points home on Coastal Carolina.
Going with the shuffle pass again. Great job by Mitchell weaving his way in for that. And that should do it there. Scratching my head a little bit, going for 2 with the big lead, but you want to go by 24. That puts it clearly 3 scores to even tie you. What a night for Ahlers.
And the hugs on the sideline, and the celebration beginning as ECU just over 2 minutes away from their first 8-win season since 2014, but more importantly, finishing off the year with a bowl win. 53 points, 2nd most in a bowl game in school history at East Carolina. And unlike their 2001 game, where they put up 61, they would come out victorious in this one. And credit, again, Mike Houston said, well, how would you characterize the way this year has gone? He said, well, this is the year that I say that we took that next step forward, right? They felt like they were legitimately a contender for the American Championship. Had a tough non-conference and equally tough conference schedule. And they found their way into a bowl and have really made the most of it.
Type of day that Coastal Carolina's having. Fair catch and can't even field the ball cleanly there. Just one of those halves for Coastal Carolina. Things got away from him in a hurry. And really, how ironic is it that Bennett bobbles the kickoff right there, and it was his fumble to start the second half that really opened up the floodgates.
East Carolina takes their 3rd and final charge time out of the half. 30 seconds in late.
And you think about putting a bow on Holton Ahlers' career and just what he's done. You know, obviously father longtime PA announcer, Morgan, for East Carolina inside Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. And this is a young man who has just stayed the course, as we've mentioned. And he goes down in the annals of ECU football history, holding numerous school records. We talked about his prolific career in the American Athletic Conference as well. But you love what he's meant to this program. He flipped the fortune, Jay, and helped ECU's future turn around, right, a couple seasons ago, and bringing them their first winning season in a number of years. And then he comes here on this grand stage and shows out.
He'll go down as one of the GOATs.
Well,
in school.
Yeah.
And they've got a nice list of quarterbacks.
Yeah. So we were talking, you said Jeff Blake earlier.
Jeff Blake was always a guy. You know, I think he's the greatest to come out of there, but David Gerard was a really good one there.
But the most famous alum, I said Chris Johnson until we learned of
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock went there.
Attending ECU.
And then congratulations to a friend of mine, Marcus Crandall, getting inducted to the ECU Hall of Fame. He was one of those quarterbacks that did it well. And this is what sports is all about. People, bowl games don't mean anything now. They don't mean anything when you don't win them. When you win them, you love winning your last game of the season.
You think on the other side for Grayson McCall, who has a lot to think about and has to make a decision. He's entered the portal. Does he return here to Coastal Carolina? Does he try his luck elsewhere? Or does he prepare for the NFL draft? And some life-changing decisions on the way for that young man, as didn't close out the way he would have hoped or anticipated. But Coastal Carolina has a new chapter ahead as the fumble comes out. Ball comes loose. And Mike Houston, oh, there it is.
With the running start.
Yeah. He tried to maybe skirt away from it, but he couldn't avoid it. Holton Ahlers and Mr. Henderson set on making sure they douse their head coach.
First down, East Carolina.
And then Holton Ahlers is like, wait, I got to go get my helmet and back on the field and take victory formation.
See, I would have took the helmet. If I'm Mason Garcia, you're not finding your helmet. The backup, I would have hidden the helmet from him.
But Holton's been a great mentor to the next quarterback in waiting, and Mason Garcia. But this is the way that Ahlers would have wanted. He hands over. He hands over.
Yeah.
He tried it though. He tried it though.
He ran 30 yards over there to get his helmet, try to go back out there. Come on, dude. That's what I would have told him. Come on, man. Can I get a little something? This is a shotgun snap and a handoff.
Illegal substitution. Offense. There were 12 players in formation. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So at least we get to see Mason Garcia in some form or fashion on the field, even if it's just a handoff duty, but 6'5", 242-pound sophomore from Myrtle Beach. They'll go into victory formation.
If you're a quarterback, doesn't matter how you get snaps, but you know that's a pretty sweet way.
Get on the field.
To finish it and get on the field. That's right.
They'll have to take another one, and when you're watching a game, you do all those weeks of practice. I'll always say this: touching the field is better than not touching the field, no matter how it comes.
Well, hats off to Chad Staggs and the job that he's done in the interim with all of the transition for Coastal Carolina. A 9-win season for the Chanticleers. They come up short here in the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. And all the emotion pouring out for Holton Ahlers. The excitement, and the game is complete. The mission has been accomplished, and ECU winning the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl, their first bowl game win since 2013. An outstanding all-around performance, 486 yards of total offense picked up, capitalizing on miscues. 53-29 for Jay Walker. I'm Tiffany Green along with Jalen Johnson. We say so long and send you over to Beth Mowens and Kirk Morrison.